That's it. Yeah. Strategic. All right. Welcome everybody to the 4 p.m. City Council work session. All council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Chaburka, who's asked to be excused. And Councilmember Blair should be joining us shortly. He indicated he is on his way. We have just a quick review of the work session agenda. There is one item that we'll move around a little bit, but we'll first hear from Joe Simpson with the proposed rezone, and then Barton Briley with another rezone. And then we'll invite Chief Young to come up with his budget presentation. Lisa Stout from Management Services will address this on a number of items, and we're going to move the proposed Schedule A changes in her section. And then we'll finish off with Justin Anderson. And then just as a note, depending on where we are in the flow of the meeting, we're going to try and schedule a break about 5:30 to 6 in that neighborhood, so we can get up and stretch our legs and maybe use the bathroom if need be. So first up, Joe, welcome on the proposed rezone.
Thank you. Council, it's good to be with you this afternoon, evening, whatever it is. And here it comes. Wow, what a terribly long title. So what we basically got going on is a rezone, and it's really to fix, we have a few zone boundaries. That's why this title's so long. We're a mix of an R3 multifamily 12th Street corridor overlay and a CP1, which is a neighborhood commercial zoning boundary that have kind of got messed up on a line, and we'll get into that. But really, it's to fix those boundaries so they all follow a new property line. This is the property. Some of you may be familiar with Dylan's Restaurant on 12th Street. When it developed, it was all one piece with this larger vacant piece that's to the south and has since been split. But this is going to be related to both the restaurant property and this new vacant property, that new being that it's currently being reviewed for development. And so as it mentions on here, there's kind of a mix of zoning on some of these, and I got some graphics to show that a little more clearly, but it is in the Canyon Road Community Plan, existing restaurant, and then of course some townhomes that are being looked at to the south. This is the plat, and this is this boundary that we're talking about highlighted in red between the two properties. Again, initially this was all one parcel when the Dylan's Restaurant was developed back in the mid 1990s. Just an aerial showing perspective of that. This is a plan that's currently in review. It's called the Dylan's Townhomes. So it's a couple of buildings, couple of townhome units that are having access. The issue is, let me pull up a pointer here, is regarding this row of parking stalls that is part of the Dylan's Restaurant property is actually on this property over here. We'll get into that, why that is the case. So when the 1995 plan was approved, and this was all under one lot, the property was developed without that row of parking stalls that you've seen in the previous plan. And this area to the south was designated as for a future development. And so what has occurred is that space had then been paved without a site approval or anything. And so it developed stalls within a setback, and also a dumpster was placed out here on the street, which was required to go into an enclosure over here. And so we're trying to fix a few things as we're going. When we looked at the Dylan's townhome project, we found these issues, and we're like, okay, we need to fix this and straighten it out. One of those is you guys need to figure out where you're going to put that property line. Obviously, Dylan's Restaurant would like to keep those parking stalls, so the intent would be to shift that property line further north so those stalls could be included into the restaurant development. And then thus also lining up the zone boundary, which is why we're here today, is to get that zone boundary lined up on that new property line. But just to kind of visualize, and so I wanted to talk about the existing zone boundary. So what we have going on is, again, 3 zones. You have these 2 underlying zones of CP1, which in the early 90s, when it was rezoned for the restaurant, was only 200 feet from the right of way. And the line that was split never went through a subdivision process through the city. So the description went further south than it was supposed to. And then in 2004, when the 12th Street overlay was done all along eastern portion of 12th Street, they just followed those property lines. And so we have the 12th Street overlay that extends a little bit further past that for where the line is. And the proposal is to move this boundary line here down to here. Now, there's some other issues that come with that. And let me just.
Joe, can I?
Yes.
I'm so confused now.
Okay,
So,
let's go back. This is existing.
okay, so the boundary between the purple and the orange, whatever it is,
Mhm.
that is that the 12th Street overlay?
No.
The
So
12th Street overlay is the crosshatch.
They're the crosshatches. Yep.
Okay, so that's the boundary that Dillon's is using right now?
So the zone boundary that was approved, this pink line is that 200 feet that was approved, and then that stamped approved 95 plan was lined up with that 200 foot. What happened is they paved more parking further into this R3 zoning here. But they also split the property so they could sell that vacant piece separately. But where they split it, kept that parking or pushed that parking that was developed onto the south lot. So that's why that title is so long.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So you're kind of
That's a little
seeing,
more helpful.
yeah, and it's because of a sequence. This came first, the zoning, the site plan, and then we did the 12th, they split the property. It didn't follow the zone boundary. 12th Street overlay followed that line that we have now. But then parking was developed further south. So the intent is to keep that space and to line it all up. So everything's following a line, which is in line with general plan policies and provisions.
Just out of curiosity, does Dillon's, as it currently sits without those parking spots on the south, meet their requirement?
They met the requirement without those. That's
Okay.
why it was approved in 95
Okay.
that way. But they would like to keep those. And so to do that, there's some things we got to look at, and that's where some conditions come into play. One is there is a 10-foot landscape setback required because you have a commercial and a residential zone boundary. It just so happens that they made the aisle width so wide there. It's pretty much exactly enough space to be able to do a 10-foot setback, 18-foot depth stalls, 24-foot wide access aisle, and have enough for the 18 that's up against the building. So everything would line up. It's just going to have to remove some asphalt and do some landscaping. And we've already received some preliminary site plans that, the Dillon's property would be going through that site plan review to make those changes. So that would be one step, and one condition is to have that setback. Also, you notice the dumpster out here right off the sidewalk, there's actually a 20-foot setback. Dumpsters are not supposed to be in that setback. So included having the dumpster enclosure and also having that setback along the street, which the concept plans I seen were really good and we're showing that. So what we're having now is looking at having zone boundaries follow the new property lines. And so that would be also another condition, is that they complete that small subdivision plat process to move the line where they finally want to have it. One other thing that we look at is the Canyon Road Community Plan, and it actually talks about this very property in the plan of having it be commercial, a C1 option, which is what it did invoke, but it also, the same policies we have in the general land use section were also included in here of making sure that zoning boundaries follow the property lines. So this petition will fix that issue that has been created. So with those conditions, planning commission has recommended to you, the council of approval, 7-0. And that's my presentation.
Any questions for Joe on that? All right, you're off, you get off easy today.
Wow. I don't mind that.
Hey, Joe, just real quick. So, the how they get enter into that townhouse, oh my gosh, townhome project.
Mhm.
Well, it's okay with our streets as far as where it's,
Yeah, we've done a site review. And it's still in review. It's gone through preliminary and final. We're finishing that, but yeah, it's got enough frontage away that it can do that.
perfect. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Barton to come and talk to us about the 605 North Jackson proposed rezone.
So good afternoon. Okay, so this is a request to change the zone of property at 605 North Jackson from R16 to R15. R16 is a single family residential zone with a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size, and R15 is the same with a 5,000 square foot minimum lot size. So this is a property, it's on Jackson Avenue. It's a one kind of leftover vacant piece of property. So this was a property that was owned by the school district. They had an idea of building an elementary school there. They chose not to, so they surplused the property. City exercised their option, and we purchased it with the intention of doing a single family subdivision there. I will say, since then, we've also had a discussion with the school district about, remember to show my pointer. They own the house right next to it. And we've had discussion with them about us purchasing the backyard of that house and incorporating in the subdivision, and they're amenable to that. So the proposal would be to rezone both the city-owned property and the back of that school district property with the anticipation that we'd purchase that. So this is what the site looks like. It's and one of the few remaining large vacant properties in Ogden. Want to give you an idea of the neighborhood, what it looks like. It's largely a single family residential neighborhood. There's single family subdivisions all around it. This is Jackson Avenue, and just preemptive one question, will Jackson Avenue have to be improved when they do the subdivision? The answer is yes.
Can I make a disclaimer at this point? Just so that it doesn't go unspoken. The property line on the north of that little teeny flag stem that sticks up, that abuts property that I own. Just for the record.
When you say the street will be improved, is that including curb and gutter?
Yeah, it'll have to be curb, gutter, sidewalk, drainage, street lights, fire hydrants, all those good things that go along the streets.
Oh, and that's not just, is that just the boundary, or is that the entire Jackson Avenue?
It'll be at least the boundary of the subdivision. That's our typical requirement.
Pardon? Is that little flag tip that goes up, is that the canal?
There's a canal that's on the western boundary of this. So yes, that little tip is part of the canal.
Just so the road, it's not that it has to be done, but we want to do it, right? I mean, is the road so bad that even if we didn't do anything, we should be doing something now?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's a typical subdivision requirement to you
Mhm.
improve the street on your frontage and
it'll meet city standard. It,
Yeah.
it has no curb and gutter right now. It's just road and then into the field.
I think there's curb and gutter along
One side of it.
portions. of
There's
that road,
chunks, yeah.
Along chunks, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy?
So, yeah, I can just give you a brief update on that. So if you were to drive down there and see half of it's improved. So the part with homes on it has curb and gutter, sidewalk, and
Mhm.
the other half does not.
Yeah,
But
you can
it's,
see-
it's
go
old
back to
and
that same-
starting to alligator and the whole street.
Where the
along
mailbox
road
is
has
right
to be redone.
there, that's looking south.
Mhm.
That's the last curb and gutter till you get almost down to the next, whatever it is,
Church.
550.
Yeah.
Not quite clear to the
Not quite
church,
to the
but
church, but yeah.
So there, it's significant improvements that would have to be made along Jackson as part of this.
There, it didn't look like there was curb and gutter on the school district property home. Would that be included in this?
Yes. Yes, that would.
That's, yeah. Sorry.
so if you look here, the zoning of the property is R16 and everything around is R16. So kind of why would we want to change? Here's really the why. This is over the last 4 years of permits that we've issued in city, and we've issued quite a bit of permits for a lot of dwelling units. And the yellow at the bottom is single family residential. There's just been virtually no, I know I said 2023, we did 5. Jeremy says, yeah, and the city did 3 of those. And the reason we're doing so few is there just isn't land. Ogden's just not a city where we've got, we can annex a farm and Ivory Homes or D.R. Horton or somebody is going to buy 50-acre farm and build, 250 houses there. We just don't have that. So really our single family residential is mostly confined to, can I divide this house and, put 2 houses where there's 1 or something like that. And so the reason that in talking about it, city staff had proposed doing the zone change. It really has more to do with the width requirement than the size requirement. The minimum width requirement in the R16 is 60 feet and in R15 is 50 feet. So this is just kind of an illustration. If you go to 50-foot wide lots, in this area, you end up with 1 more. And if you spread that out to the whole subdivision, you maybe get 4 to 8 more throughout the subdivision if you do that. So anywhere from 22 to 26 lots with R16 and maybe 30 up to 35 and on R15, and they'd still probably be 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 square foot lots.
what are the side yard setbacks in an R15?
It's 5 and 10, so 15 feet total. And
Okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to 8 and 15 is, or
I think it's 8. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
That's right.
okay.
So just to add on to that, so on the current zoning, the minimum lot square footage is 6,000 feet, right? And so we're proposing taking this to the R15, which is 5,000. We're still above that minimum. So right now, when we do different layouts out there, we're getting an average about 8,000 to 9,000 square feet, which is well above the minimum. Even with this reduced or with the new zoning, you're still above 7,000 to 8,000 square feet, well above even, what would put it in line with the R16. We're really talking about the width, is like Barton says. So a 50 wide lot would be similar to what we've done at like Ogden, that infill subdivision. Those are 50-foot wide lots, and traditionally what you see still in a standard single family neighborhood. They're just not, a few more feet that, you squeeze 1 more lot in there like Barton.
So you
was
still
talking
got 35 feet of building.
about.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
So we're not talking teenier buildings necessarily. I guess we could, but
No,
it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you're gonna get kind of a you're gonna get decent sized single family home, a good starter home,
Mhm.
no mansions. Just looking at how this relates to the general plan, one of the housing element goals is to expand home ownership, and this would do that. Facilitate residential infill, redevelopment and rehabilitation. In some cases at higher densities, this would be a slightly higher density. The Mountain Lewis Community Plan supports single-family residential development in this area, which this would be. Zoning should reflect the prevailing character of the neighborhood, which still would be the single-family residential neighborhood. And then this one, zoning boundaries should not cut across individual lots or developments. And so the one you just heard was one where we're just adjusting the zone boundary to match the property lines. This is one where when we go through and purchase the school district property, you'll have to divide that off so that the property line and the zone boundary are the same. So the planning commission heard this and voted unanimously to recommend approval.
Councilmember Myers, question?
Yeah, my question is, what type of home do you anticipate building there? Would it be more of a mid-income home or a lower income, socioeconomic level type home?
Yeah, and for this project in this neighborhood, we're anticipating mid-income. So this isn't built with federal funds. There's no income restrictions currently with it, but it would be geared towards just that missing middle that everyone's talking about with housing. So who knows when the homes actually get built, but that's the sweet spot is between $350,000 and $420,000. Like that, there's nothing for sale in that range. So we're hoping to reach that. Granted, it's only 30 lots, so it doesn't put a drop in the bucket for the state's needs, but it's what Ogden can do. I mean, we have this land and we can address it for that many, and it's a home run for that little niche. We just wish we had, triple that.
Jeremy, I really like that plan in Barton for it to be targeted at that socioeconomic level, because I watched what happened with the D elementary school property there, and those are all mid-income homes. And it's really changed that neighborhood. So I'm very involved in that neighborhood right through there. And I just like the feeling that's come there. Some people say that it raised property taxes, but I think that kind of happened inherently over the past few years. And is there some mechanism that would cause property taxes to raise for other homeowners there? Or is that just a matter of?
Yeah, I think anyone that owns a house in Weber County is probably thinking that, and they may be blaming it on their neighbor's remodel or something, but that's just part of the world we're in. And unfortunately, man, we're all feeling it. The property taxes went up, but absolutely, when you come in and you improve the value of the property, before it was zero, right? They were paying none because there were no homes there. And so when they do the assessment and they value what homes are selling for in that region, the assessor's going to look at that, and it could influence it. But overall, the positive outcome, and it always, it's fantastic what it does for the city. And we'd hope for a similar outcome for this project.
I have one last question. And it's not a question, it's more of a statement. In all respect, Councilman Heyer, he wants to see a road go through there just because of the past commitments. And I kind of like that we fill it in as much as possible, taking advantage of the property that's there to put in more housing. So we'll leave that to the powers that be to make that final decision, but sorry to disagree with you on that one.
Oh, disagreement's part of the deal. I just think we are going to have a problem with, we could have a problem with the school district since we told them they must keep that road, which is kind of why they are rebuilding Hillcrest Elementary where they are instead of here. I think we will have gone on against our word.
So we'll look at all those things. I mean, it's in the conceptual state, everything we've done now, we're just throwing spaghetti on the wall right now, just trying to see which goes. And we have a general idea of the layout of the lots. As we get into the engineering, we've had discussions and we've been informed of some impediments to actually doing things like that. But, we can definitely flush out all those ideas. We haven't had anything improved or even reviewed at this point, so.
It's an engineering question. Just can you design it without making a Dukes of Hazzard jump?
That would be pretty good. I guess you didn't want to deal with the tree, huh? That nice big, I don't know what kind of tree it was, but it was cool. That was the only thing people said to me. I hope they save that tree. I hope they save that tree. And it's not saved.
Well, that's something to be evaluated too. Subdivision.
Yeah,
It
and
can be.
I think one of my comments has, I don't know about the road, but cul-de-sacs are not very, very community friendly to the rest of the community, so.
And that's, you know, wherever we can, we try and avoid cul-de-sacs. It's always a challenge when we look at infill, right? How do we do this without taking out other people's homes and making it flow? So we're not building streets that just service one side. So, yeah, we do our best to avoid that. Sometimes we can't, so.
Well, that's,
What we
that,
have-
just the rezone is what we're
we
dealing with
can-
right now. The plan design is still yet to come, I suppose, so.
We won't see that.
Okay,
I don't think we. Why would we see it after we had
no, I don't think we would.
we've given them the money, unless there's more money involved?
Yeah,
But also, Jeremy, this is a plan that Ogden City will be developing. Is that correct? And building?
That is the plan, yeah. So we would plan to develop it similar to the way we did Stonehill and Ogden. And then we do an RFP for builders to come and build the homes for us, and we own it throughout the process. We sell it directly to the homeowners from there. That's generally what we're aiming towards on this one. Yeah.
so when will we see this?
This is coming June 11th, along with the other rezone in our June 11th meeting. So if we have other questions, we can certainly include those prior to that presentation for final action.
So I guess that's my question, is if neighbors who also are desirous to have that road go through, if this is only for a rezone and it gets noticed only for a rezone and it never sees the light of day again, how will they express their concerns?
Well,
To the planning commission?
yeah, it still has to go to planning commission.
the planning
So that
commission?
preliminary plat that shows the road layouts and wherever they would be able to come at that, to that.
Okay, okay.
All right, I have just a quick question, and this is, I don't know if you can go back to your second or third slide. I'm just, I get certainly wanting to match, you know, the size of the property and the R15 versus the R16. The east side of Jackson looks like a little bit bigger lot sizes, but then 500 North and Quincy, probably a little bit smaller. Is there any way to see, maybe in our next presentation, how the R15 lot sizes would line up graphically? Because I think it looks like it's probably gonna fit more along the 500 North widths, property widths.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thanks. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? If not, we'll bring up Chief Young. We'll switch gears from rezones to budget.
Against the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah. Weighing in on that, that's good.
All right, thanks for having me. Gonna try and, this presentation to the staff actually went longer than I thought it would, so I tried to clean it up just a little bit. I wanna try and push through it. Please feel free to stop me with questions as we go, but I know there's typically a lot of questions for the police department, so I tried to clean up the presentation to the nitty gritty as much as possible, so I could save plenty of time for questions as we go through, so. It's been another great year, police department. 24 has been excellent. I'm going to highlight some of the overarching things that happen in your police department that create the culture that we have. And then I'll go through kind of some of the specific reports, some of the items that you've asked for me to report on, and that were special, what I think were of interest to the council, coming out of last year. So shoot pictures of some of our people, some of the events that we've been working throughout the year. We'll talk about in depth some of the great success we'd have with the events over the last 2 years. Here in just a minute, we talk about the stuff that Diana Lopez is doing. So I will start with our values. These are kind of the core along with our mission statement. Our mission statements actually build on our values. And these are what we embed in our people repeatedly from when they're hired all the way in through their entire career. When we give excellent work awards or other awards in the police department, we have a big screen right inside the main entrance of the police department. A lot of you, I'm sure, have seen it. Pictures of those officers or civilians receiving those awards are up there. When they get an excellent work award, whatever value they exhibited by earning that award is printed on the bottom of the award. So you're gonna see a picture of great work in doing this, this, and this, the investigation, and in the bottom corner, you're gonna see excellence. What you exhibited was excellence. We're trying to drive home what the values are that we work on and show them, hey, not just show those who are doing the great work, but show their colleagues, hey, this is what it looks like to be excellent. This is what it looks like to be innovative. This is what it looks like to show courage. And courage is not just about, obviously police officers have to go out and face dangerous situations in the community, but courage to us is also about the ability to make difficult decisions in difficult circumstances. Ability to stand up and always stand for what's right, regardless of the circumstance, maybe even a situation where a colleague's doing something that you're not approving of. You have to have the courage and the backbone to stand up and show what's right and speak up for what's right. And we see our people able to do that over and over again. Integrity, obviously, a sound moral and ethical compass is necessary to do this job. Justice and equality for all that we serve, and obviously compassion. And it's a hard one. I got to be honest with you. We push compassion and we strongly recognize it. I've done this for 31 years now, and it's a tough job to keep that, in the back of your heart and your mind throughout a career. And for the officers who go out and deal with these problems day in, day out, it's not easy. So we push trainings that keep them focused on that, on their emotional intelligence, and the way they interact with people. One of the things we'll be doing next year is some dignity training, so to help them be a little more compassionate in the way they deal with the homeless population, because it's taxing to deal with those situations over and over and over, and really difficult people who are just not making any attempts to change the direction of their life. And so we focus a lot on compassion in a lot of different ways. It's critical to us. We always look inside our organization to see what's going on from a non-biased perspective. It'd be easy for myself, the deputy chief, and the captains to just sit up in our office and say, hey, things are great. We're knocking out of the park. Everybody loves us. We don't believe in that. We believe in gathering real data, whatever it says. And if it doesn't say what we want, then fixing it, doing better, and taking advantage of the data that does look good. So I partner with Jason Thompson, who's the owner director of the Axis Corporation. I've mentioned him before. I know some of the new council members probably aren't familiar with that, but Jason and I worked together on the YCC board. I was president when he came in, and he took over as president after I left and was past president. But the Axis Group is a strategic consulting group for major corporations across the country and even across the globe. They have several Fortune 500 companies, and they have even some Fortune 10 companies now. And he is a strategic advisor to boards and to CEOs. And because of the relationship we're able to build with him, he comes in and does a lot of this consulting, helps drive our strategic plan at a government rate, so to speak. We couldn't afford him for what these major companies are paying, but it's something he likes to do. He, when I first met Jason, he lived in North Ogden, but he's recently relocated and lives here in Ogden, so he's even more invested in Ogden. He's actually going to serve on our, we're doing a captain's promotion. As most of you know, Captain Einen took the chief of police job in North Ogden. So we're promoting a new captain next week, and he's going to sit on that board. So he helps us to implement this balanced organization test. And we do this every fall. Before our internal strategic retreat. We have a strategic retreat as a police department, as a leadership group, prior to the initial city budget retreat. We want to look internally at what we're doing in the police department, what our goals were, how we're doing, how we're reaching those goals, what challenges. We do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then as a group, we come up with what are our priorities going into the city budget retreat, not just fiscally, but overall, what do we need to accomplish to keep us on the right direction where we're going? So before we have that retreat, we kind of inform ourselves by doing an internal look. And this balanced organization test looks at several critical components of a balanced organization: values, value-driven leadership, culture, vision, strategy, and greater purpose. And we changed the language a little bit from what Jason uses for the private industry to kind of try and help our officers and managers understand what it means in our world. It's a little different, but I pushed ever since the day I came in the doors to operate this police department as much as I can like a Fortune 500 company. I want people to think like they're in a competitive environment. Like, not that we're trying to outdo other police departments, but we're trying to outdo our best. In the private world, if a company's not making good product, their margins are slimming, they're going to be, they're not getting good response from their customers. They're not going to have any revenue, and they're going to be out of business. In public, in government, sometimes you can get lazy and say, well, the budget's going to be there every year, no matter what. They're going to fund us again, right? So there's not the same pressure of, hey, I got to do this or I lose my job. So I try and push to to be competitive and always grow and always continue to improve in all of these areas. So this test looks at the performers, the managers and the administrators and the executive leadership, and it breaks them down by different groups and how everybody understands the vision. How do the performers think our value-driven leadership is? What's our culture like? And so as you see, we got pretty good scores across the board. The 79 in strategy was the lowest, and that was because we're not seeing our performers, our line level workers understand their piece of the strategy as well as we'd like them to. So that's a challenge for next year. We have the written strategic plan, but sometimes that doesn't always translate to a graveyard patrol officer. So it's informing our sergeants, our supervisors, hey, this is what it means in their world to be part of what we're doing to make our strategy effective in Ogden City. You see again, just talks about those different areas. It tells you what you're doing well in each area, what you're doing, what you could improve on in each area, what some potential threats could be, gives you ideas, roadmaps. It's just a great way for us to look inside our organization every year and say, how are we doing? What do we need to improve? And moving forward into the next year. This is one of the ones that we did really well on. You see executive managers and producers. This is overall our values, 100% on those. So it's how are you performing in this area? Have you established a foundation for maximizing the role that living your values can measurably play in the growth and health of your organization? So it's just, are the people, we can put those values up there on the awards, we can put them on the TV screens, we can reinforce them, but this is telling us, are they really getting it? Are they living them? Do they really believe and invest in those values? So we look internally with this test, we look from the outside with what's called spider tech. So every time a citizen or some from Ogden or outside Ogden makes a police report, after the report's completed, thanks Ken. After the report's completed, they're sent digitally through their phone, this survey link. And I've done them before. So, I had somebody rear end me in South Ogden, had to make a report. And what do you know? I get a link just to survey to give a response on how we did. And it asks for feedback on dispatch, the officer, on several different categories, professionalism, quality of service overall, a bunch of different things that are listed on there. But the nice thing with the access test, because it's typically only given in private industry, we don't really have other corporate partners we can compare our numbers against. I don't know how other police departments would do with that test. We do have other police departments that are using this same technology. So we're able to look at what we're doing. And every month in our comp stat meeting with our leaders, we look at our responses on spider tech and say, how are we doing versus the national trends? We've always been above so far, but if we start to tick down, then we start to pay attention. Hey, are officers being a little unprofessional? Are they stressed? We actually saw, there was times over the past, I've been here 3.5 years now. So there's times they've trended the other direction the last 3.5 years, but in the last 4 or 5 years, we've been as many as 20, 22 officers down. You do start to see that when officers are working harder, they're asked to work more overtime shifts, they're asked to fill in more, especially in the summertime, all the events come along. You have to pay attention to that, because if you're working them too hard, you'll start to see some of the professionalism and some of those things start to slip. So that's why we're always checking these to make sure we're doing the right thing. And our people are out there treating people in the community the way we expect them to be treated, regardless of the circumstances they're in. So as it says there, we're exceeding national averages in all the categories, but we're constantly watching those for any slips. In last year's budget, it was a new item that was funded, but we actually were able to reorganize the police department to make this a cost neutral implementation with the elimination of some other positions. But we were able to add a new lieutenant who's now runs our professional standards bureau. Other departments of our size, even some smaller, all those bigger, have what most people refer to as an internal investigations unit, which we could have called it that. That's a lot of what they're doing, is managing all of our internal investigations. But what their true charge, what their true expectation is to raise the professional standards of the police department. So our auditor, Sean Hamblin, works under Lieutenant Ziegler. So they're watching those spider tech results. They're reviewing use of forces, after actions, and they're managing after internal investigations where we receive a complaint that has to go to an actual investigation where we have to bring an officer in and read them their Garrity warning and do a full investigation, which they do happen probably an average of, I'd say 8 to 10 a year, at least, is what we deal with. Most of them unfounded, but some aren't. if you look at what we've accomplished in 2022 before our Professional Standards Bureau was implemented, the number of days it took for an after action report from a sergeant to get entered was 12. Since we've established the Professional Standards Bureau, we've dropped that number to 2, an 83% reduction. The time that it took or the days it took to get the report submitted to me, to the chief to review, was at 30 days. And last year they reduced that to 5 days. Again, an 83% reduction. And the decision and closure that was taking 42 days is now down to 9 days. So when it comes to reviewing our critical incidents, these incidents are use of force, automobile accidents, damage to private property. Our turnaround's much quicker. It makes us much more effective because if something has gone wrong, we know much quicker and we're taking action on that immediately. And if there are repercussions or discipline, it's happening immediately and not 12 days later. So these also include our vehicle pursuits, part of the ones that we have doing a lot of after action reviews on, because when they happen, it's a critical incident. So we do a lot of hard work to shed ourselves in a good light in the media and through social media. When Chief Watt came in, he really changed the idea of, we don't want to be pounding our chest and showing off all the guns we caught. And here's all the drugs we seized, and here's all the criminals we caught in Ogden. No, we want to change the narrative. We want to talk about the good things in Ogden. Not that we're ignoring those things, but we're not going to go out of our way to show them off. We're not going to go out of our way to show the burglar or the robber that we arrested. We're going to go out of our way to show the good things that are happening in the community. And we also, when I became chief, we converted what used to be kind of a chief of staff position under Chief Watt, which was kind of a military structure. That lieutenant became a full-time PIO. And that's what Lieutenant Farr does now, is he is constantly monitoring social media and developing posts for social media. And he's encouraging officers to go out and document when their colleagues are doing good work, so we can actually tell our story in the media. And I know it sounds like, I'm beating my chest and look at me and we're great, but the reality of the world we live in is the media is not going to go out of their way to tell our good stories. Nobody's going to go out of their way to tell our good stories. If we don't tell our own good stories, they're just not going to get told. And all you're going to hear is a lot of the negative stuff, which, it's the hate and the upset, anger and rage is what sells in the media. That's what gets clicks. It's what gets commercials. So that's what drives the media narrative, unless we drive our own narrative. So we have a huge following on our Facebook and our social media, the biggest in the city, I think, of any other organizations. So we highlight the great things we're doing, like Nancy Griggs, we highlighted with our My Ogden video. Nancy's from Ogden. She's a part of the community. She's one of 3 officers we've done a My Ogden highlight on, showing, hey, this is the great things they're doing in their community. She's a softball player. We talked about that. About a lieutenant who's an amazing mountain biker and loves riding the mountain bike trails up here like I do. We did an expose on him about what he does as a lieutenant and what he does in his spare time as a mountain biker in Ogden. So that's kind of the My Ogden platform. Nancy's was a huge hit. You see there were 13,000 reaches and 2.7 thousand or almost 3,000 engagements, either shares, likes, retweets, those kind of things. Animals always go over big. So we do highlight animals when we have them. And that one's introducing our new canine, Chapo. Huge amount of following on that one, 23,000 followings, 8,000 engagements. It's just good stuff. Like I said, we're trying to sell our own good stories because our officers are out there doing great things all the time. Someone caught a picture of Animal Service Officer Dickman trying to take care of a stranded dog in a snowstorm. And typically people wouldn't document that stuff. It would just happen all the time. And it does happen all the time, but now we're taking time to show what we're actually doing. And it had a huge response. 55,000 people saw it, 8,000 engaged with it in some way. Another one with officers clearing an elderly female's driveway when the snow was too deep. They just, those things are happening all the time. We're just taking the time to tell the story now. Another one with Officer Windsor playing soccer, huge reach there. Almost 90,000 people saw that in some way. 5,000 reshared it or engaged with it somehow. Officers just patrolling the parkway, which they do all the time on their bikes, but has a huge reach. That reach also helps in our recruiting and hiring. We're doing great. We've had 4 officers down for only 3 months this year. There was a period of a few weeks this year when we were fully staffed for a period of time, believe it or not, which I don't know when or if that ever happened in my 31-year career. We have a lot of people coming to Ogden because they've done their research and they want to work in Ogden. They know about the city. They know about the leadership in the city. They know about the county prosecutor's perspective. It's where they want to be, and they want the outdoor recreational opportunities. So we always ask them at the chief's interview, why is it you're coming to Ogden? So I've done my research. I've watched the press conferences. I've seen the news articles. I've seen the city, and it's just where we want to be. We've had two. One of them's back working now. He's a former officer who left when our wages got way behind. He went to Salt Lake. And this has been almost 10 years ago. He spent several years in Salt Lake. Then he went to the Davis County Sheriff's Office. He was a sergeant at the Davis County Sheriff's Office, and the sheriff pretty much told him, hey, you're my next one for lieutenant if you just stick around. But he came back to Ogden to be a patrol officer, and he took a significant cut in pay because he just wanted to be back. He liked what was going on at Ogden. He liked the culture. He liked the way the work we do. He wanted to work harder. He wasn't, really that tasked with a lot of work in Davis County. It was a lot of quiet nights. So we got another officer who's been gone for about 6 years, came to us out of the Marine Corps, was a just great officer. He and his wife said they wanted to try Texas. He went to Plano, Texas for several years. He's a sergeant for Plano, Texas Police Department, but he's coming back. June 10th, I think, is his start date, just to come back to be a patrolman in Ogden. No guarantees of a promotion. It's just where he wants to be. So really are bringing some good people, and we're bringing in good rookies as well, but it's still a tough market and it's competitive, and everybody's constantly, it's just that time of year when you're trying to find out what's everybody else going to do to up their pay, to make sure that you're staying competitive, because it's just the nature of the beast. There's just not enough people for all the positions, but it is getting better, and we're doing much better as a police department. Training, tons of training, where I think we have the best trained police department in the state. We do a wide variety of training. We do all the post-mandated training. We do a lot of arrest control. We do de-escalation. We do special needs. We do spectrum disorder training. We do, you name it, we're training on it, to the tune of 12,800 sworn training hours in 2024. It's just pretty amazing how much training. We've got a full training bureau now, where we've got a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a training assistant, and 2 civilians, and our training has just gone through the roof. It's just doing amazing things. Alarms, I wanted to report back to you. We came to you a while ago and asked for you to change the alarm ordinance to do away with the permits and just reduce the number of responses on alarms. And I wanted to keep you up to date on how that's working for us, and it's working very, very well. We've reduced officer responses on alarms 45%. That's 1,209 officer responses, which is a lot of times 2 officers can take up to an hour just in 1 year. That's how much time we got back to do other proactive, productive police work, not sitting around at a business for them to let you know they forgot to close their window, or they don't, a lot of times they just weren't even showing up. If somebody still requests and wants to go check their building with an officer, we're going to show up and we're going to help check their building. We're not going to leave them to go through it, or the residents by themselves. But the ones who don't even bother to call back, our company says we're not able to reach a responsible party, we're not responding on those. But if they do want a response and they are concerned about it, we are going. That's why you still see we're only cut them in half. We haven't done away with all of our alarm responses. So far, I think we're doing a good job of filtering out the ones that are just, we get on stormy, like on Monday when it was blowing and raining sideways, we probably get 20 or 30 alarms in 2-hour time span. And people on their holiday don't want to take time out to come check on their business. We don't want to take an officer off the street to go check on it unless they're going to invest in it as well. So it's been very successful. Crime rate, another good slide we're happy to show off. You see our crime rate per 1,000 steadily declining. You look at where it was back in 2017 with 49.98. Now we're all the way down to 25.65. We've cut that almost in half. That's the amount of serious crimes that are happening per 1,000 people in Ogden. We are doing great things with the crime rate in Ogden. When I say we, the whole city, this isn't just the police department. It takes an effort of community and economic development, of public works, management services to change the trajectory of a city. You can't just do it alone through policing, but we're doing great things in regards to crime in Ogden City. Our NIBRS crime data, this is the way the federal government switched to start tracking crime from Part 1 crimes to NIBRS crimes 2 years ago. So we've gone back to 2020 to show what our NIBRS crimes are doing. Our crimes against persons are still a little disturbing. We're only down 4 from where we were back in 2020. We're ahead of where we were in 21, behind where we were in 22. Persons crimes nationwide are still a problem. A lot of those are domestic violence calls. and robberies. But you look at crimes against property and there's just a huge reduction in crimes against property and crimes against society. Even though you see that trending up, those are cases that we're creating by our own hard work. A lot of those are like environmental offenses and drug offenses, paraphernalias, minor drug possessions, litterings, the things we're dealing with in the parks with the homeless population. It's because we have 2 CP squads out creating a lot of these cases by doing proactive enforcement that we're actually artificially driving our numbers up. But the ones that are critical, we're doing really well in. Part 1 crime, we keep tracking, even though this isn't the standard nationwide for the Unified Crime Reporting System from FBI, we keep tracking Part 1 crimes because we have that longevity, that historical look of how they've been year over year, where NIBRS is a newer system. But you look at where we've gone, it's that more than in half, 18.2 decrease just from last year. You look at 2017 to 2023, 4,519. These Part 1 crimes are your serious crimes: rapes, stolen vehicles, assaults, robberies, arsons. These are the serious, significant crimes. We went from 4,500 in 2017 to 2,230 in 2023. And 2024, we're on track, and we're tracking to have another reduction in crime in Ogden. So we were looking at these numbers in regards to a story a little while ago, and we found that just since 2016, we've cut crime 52% in Ogden just since 2016. So we're doing good things as a city as a whole. It's a commitment from everybody. Patrol Bureau, just in the last year, as I mentioned, we have that strategic retreat when they set goals for the next year. One of their goals for last year was to reduce response times to calls. 6.7% decrease. More of those changes like that change you made to the alarm ordinance is what helps drive these kind of numbers, because you have more people available to go that much quicker on a call than an officer who's tied up sitting around in a warehouse waiting for somebody who's not going to show up. The overall reduction in crime rate they've contributed to. The overall scores that our officers were getting on their evaluations from 2022 to 2023 was a 12% increase in what they did. There was an increase from an average of 2.5 to 2.8 in their average scores. So overall, they were getting better scores from their supervisors, and we had a 25% increase in online reports. We're still trying to get reports online for those people who were interested in doing so. And we had an increase in our customer service numbers from Spider Tech. Community policing had an 18% increase in felony arrest warrants. It's part of the reason our crime goes down. We try and keep dangerous people off the streets when they have warrants. 24% increase in misdemeanor warrant arrests. The Community Policing Bureau has done a phenomenal job in working non-compliant sex offenders over the last year and a half. 76 arrests for non-compliant sex offenders. These are sex offenders who are required to register their cars, register their emails, their social media accounts, their addresses, their workplaces. They start falling off the radar and they stop updating their registrations with their addresses, their vehicles, where they're working. When they start to drift back towards reoffending, we find is when they're picking them up and they're getting back arrested and back under the compliance with their sex offender registry. So they've just knocked it out of the park with working non-compliant sex offenders. A lot of them do live here in the city. We do get a lot of them that come in that call the Lantern House their home. It's just the reality. A lot of people are paroled or on probation, and their address is 133 West 33rd Street. It's just the nature of what we deal with. Special events, and we're just starting to come into it now, but 50 special events last year. It's a big drag during the summer on our resources, the amount of special events that we work. We put a lot of time into them. It's a great thing for the city, but when I started here, we have the car show coming up next weekend. When I started, the car show was 2 officers going down and hanging out to keep an eye on things for about 3 hours in the afternoon. Car show now is as a whole squad of traffic officers starting at 9 a.m., shutting streets down and keeping them closed until about 8 p.m. You're talking about 6-7 officers, plus that's just the ones doing traffic control. And then you have the officers working inside the event, walking around to make sure everything's okay inside the event. So it's amazing to see our events grow, but the drain on our resources is real. And we definitely feel it in the police department. Crossing guards, there were some questions came up on crossing guards. They're a difficult position to fill. It's not a job that's going to be a job someone could do as a support themselves or a family's a full-time job. It's a part-time job. It's only a couple hours a day. But we've gone out of our way to make sure we are very competitive with our pace across the state, not just locally. We're more than competitive with our pay. We've done recruiting, we've done bonuses for hiring. We had a great crossing guard supervisor in Don Chantry. He's retired. Jessica's come on now and she's doing a great job. But overall, we've averaged 36.3 permanent crossing guards of our 39 crossing guard positions for the last year. And 2.7 of our alternate positions have been filled for that total of 39 crossing guards. We do get a lot of medical leave and medical issues with the crossing guards. It's just the nature of the population that applies for and works that job. So we do deal with a lot of people calling in sick and being off because of medical issues, not because they're getting hurt at work, but just because the nature of who that population is that takes that job. We do pay them beyond what the amount of time they have to be there for the crossing in the morning and the afternoon to make sure they get, you know, at least 2 hours for each one rather than just an hour and 10 minutes or whatever. So we work really hard to make it as appealing of a job as we can, but in talking to other chiefs statewide, they all feel the same strain of trying to manage and hire and maintain crossing guards. It's difficult. Ever since they put it back on the lap of cities years and years ago, it's a struggle. It's probably going to continue to be a struggle as long as our, you know, unemployment rates stay as low as they are. It's just the nature of the beast. But we do really go out of our way to try and take good care of them. We throw them a couple of banquets each year. We give a recognition lunch at the end of every school year to try and help them understand just how important they are. We bought them some new equipment, safety equipment and stuff. So we're doing everything we can to make them feel valued. Animal services. I wanted to talk just for a minute about animal services because we are getting creamed on our billing for animal services. It's one of these things that we're just in an MOU with Weber County that's been around for ever since we got rid of the animal shelter up on, that's old. I don't want to bring that building up, but either way, the animal shelter up on Park Avenue by the dinosaur park. Years ago, we got out of the business of running an animal shelters. The city and most of the entities, not all, most of the entities in Weber County came together and they bonded to build the animal shelter that's out by the fairgrounds. And we are on the hook for a certain percentage of that bond, regardless of what else happens. The other part of that billing is based on usage and their annual budget. And you'll see it's grown from 2018 to being $284,000 a year to we're expecting this year's bill to be $629,000 for the animal shelter. The thing that's really amazing about this is we thought we would have seen our amount of use go through the roof if our numbers are going through the roof. What we actually found is our overall citations are down from 189 in 2018 to 121 in last year. Bites, they stayed steady, the amount of animal bites we've had. But the amount of shelter intakes that we've taken out to the Weber County shelter actually have fallen a little bit. They were 1,082 in 2018. They're 1,046 in 2023. The other thing that's really concerning, the revenue we're getting. So we're spending all this money to handle animals inside the city. We're spending a lot of money. That's just the bill we're paying to the Weber County shelter. We're still have a supervisor for animal control officers for animal control vehicles. We're spending a lot of money to control animals in Ogden City. But we're only getting 1,190 licenses in 2023. So we're actually seeing our number of licenses go down. It's difficult. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's not something we really proactively enforce. Usually they enforce the license violations when it's call out on a bite on a wandering animal and the dog's not licensed. They don't, you know, they do a lot proactively to do fairs and outreach and make it easy to license your animals. But we're definitely spending a lot on animals and not bringing a lot of revenue in. We're looking at potentially building some short-term kennels at the station so we can actually bring some animals in and just keep them for a day or two to try and do the reunions to the owners before we have to go through the process of placing them at the shelter. We pay a fee every time we place an animal, or even if they are there for a very short period of time at the shelter, we're still getting dinged with a fee for that animal. So we're going to try and do some of those internally without trying to use the shelter to try and help drive those costs down. We're taking a close look at their budgets and what's driving their costs up. But it's a costly business. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of is people are struggling with housing, moving from where they may have been in a single family home before. Now they're having to go to an apartment and aren't able to take their animal with them to the apartment because the rules prohibit it, and sourcing a lot more animals surrendered to the shelter. And so the shelter is trying to actually cut down to where they can only surrender animals on certain days of the week. But they do, when somebody goes in to surrender an animal, they ask them where they're coming from and take their address, and that goes back to the city where the animal's being surrendered from. So
Chief, can I ask a couple of questions about animals? Do chickens fare into these numbers? I mean, how's that all work?
no, they don't. These are just on dogs for the
That's
most
just
part with the
dogs,
bites.
cats,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So, so
Chickens are a
chickens
different
really,
issue.
I mean, chickens have not been as much of a drain on animal services as maybe we predicted, to be honest with you. I mean, we're not getting a ton of complaints. We tracked
Okay.
them for a couple of years monthly, the chicken. We actually had them in our CompStat report every month, check out chicken complaints for a period of time. And they weren't significant enough to justify us continuing to track them. There just weren't a lot of them. It's really the dogs, the cats. They're trying to do more of the neuter and release on the cats. They're trying to just reduce the number of, uncared for population. There's just a lot of them out there, and a lot of them, if they're now, if the shelter starts, cramping down on your ability to surrender them, people just, they go the other route. They let them go sometimes, and then we find them wandering the streets. We get calls for that. So it's tough, and it's expensive tough. So it's kind of those high priority items for us to work on over the next year to see what we can do to better manage animals in Ogden City without as much expense. It's getting spendy. And this shows that even though you would have thought the numbers would go up on the numbers we're placing, there we're actually are showing less numbers that Ogden City's placing at the shelter, even though our cost is going through the roof. But we are still responsible for about half the animals that go to the shelter out of all the entities in Weber County that are part of that agreement. Ogden City we're about half on the population number, which drives the billing, and then we're half on the number of animals that get put in the shelter, which drives the billing as well. So. Okay, outreach. I want to talk quickly about the great things we're doing with outreach and what Diana's helping us drive. We had a great night out against crime last year at Lauren Farr Park. We've had ongoing citizens academies, 2 of them, just graduated a group a few weeks ago. The Treehouse Museum event last summer was amazing, and it was unbeatable until the dinosaur park came along and it even knocked it off its pedestal. We had to turn 300 people away at the Treehouse Museum event with rain checks because we couldn't get them in at one time. And we had far, far more people at the dinosaur park event than we did even at the treehouse event. So people are coming out in droves to these events. We're getting Ogden City employees are taking advantage of it. We're partnering with the health department, doing safety restraint checks on car seats and other public services. We're going to partner with DPS. High Patrol has a new outreach program. They're probably going to partner with us on our next event, which is Neptune skating, coming up here in a couple of weeks down here in June. I'm confident we're going to run out of room in Neptune skating too. So we're going to try and get as many things going on out in the parking lot with our Bearcat and some cornhole. And it's tough. We usually have places where we can, like at the dinosaur park, we can do some sports and stuff with kids. All we've got there is a parking lot with pavement. So it's going to be a little more challenging, but we're going to try and make it entertaining and kind of cycle people in and out of the skating so that everybody gets a chance, and we'll have tons of officers down there. Still spend a lot of time working with our community groups. We have regular meetings with our faith-based groups. Our Black Pastors group is really great about showing up every quarter. We attend the Christian Potter House recognition event every year around Christmas. We interact with the Diversity Commission. We've given away some gun safes this year to try and help with suicide and firearm safety. We've got really good relationships with the Mexican and Salvadorian consulates. Every time they've changed over with a new consulate, they brought the ambassador up to meet us. And so good things in the outreach events, and they're just going to keep growing. We always like to make sure you're aware of any significant purchases we made in the previous fiscal year. Ours are much lower than they have been in the past. As we get closer to staff, our budget's tightening. And I've been telling my people that for years, is just understand as we start to accomplish our goal of staffing the police department, you're going to also accomplish the goal of you having a much tighter budget. And that's where it is. But still, even with the tighter budget, we were able to spend about $93,000 on officer safety, ballistic helmets. We were taken advantage of along with a lot of other police agencies and government agencies during COVID by a gentleman who imported a bunch of bogus helmets from China and sold them as the properly licensed. And I mean, he sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of helmets. He's in jail right now, but he blew all the money before the Department of Justice could get anything back to reimburse themselves or anybody else who got taken advantage of. So we wanted to make sure we had proper, safe ballistic helmets for those active shooter responses. So we invested in those. We've invested in our handguns, shot dots, red dots, training ammunition, Vertra, breaching tools, rams, Haligans. We're just make sure we're prepared for whatever our officers have to deal with. We've spent a lot of money on shields over the last couple of years as well, and training with shields to make sure our officers can be as safe as possible. Cost saving measures. We partnered with Ogden Preparatory Academy this year. They wanted a full-time school resource officer on their campus. They've grown big enough that it just made sense for them. They were added this spring. Deputy Chief Subi was able to negotiate an MOU with them that mirrored our school district MOU. So OPA's paying for the officer throughout the entire school year. And then we get them during the summer and we pay during the summer. But they are also good enough to try and write into their grant that they got from the state to pay for the new positions, equipment and vehicle. We're still waiting to make sure that they get reimbursed on that, but they were good enough to say, I think they'll cover this. And so we get the position paid for about 75%, 66% of the time, and they're going to cover the equipment. We also this year, we had an opening come up in our training bureau. Our training coordinator, actually, we lost, unfortunately. My office assistant, Delaney Moss, left to go to Oregon with her husband, which was a good thing for them, not a good thing for us. But fortunately, my previous assistant had already come back to work for us in the training coordinator role and wanted to come back to be the assistant in the chief's office again. So we hired Diana to come back upstairs in the chief's office. That left a training position open, and our recruiter, John Thomas, who'd been working part-time, had shown some interest in moving full-time, and he was already been knocking it out of the park. So we approached John and said, hey, do you think you could take on the training coordinator roles and keep up what you're doing with recruiting if we put you in this full-time position? He said, yeah, I think I can make that happen. And he has. He's been doing a great job over the last 2 months. So we were able to eliminate that part-time position, just move him into the existing full-time position. And we're still got tons of recruits coming through the door, and the training's getting taken care of. And the other way we've knocked it out of the park with cost savings is the amazing success of our public safety grant writer. Not only for the police department, but for the fire department. Kevin Cottrell has just been bringing in amazing new amounts of revenue that we weren't getting before, to the tune of 3.8 million awarded from April of 2023 to April of 2024. And having come from managing those grants when I was a deputy chief, that's a huge increase over what we've seen. We're now able to qualify for and be competitive in and receive grants that were just not in our bandwidth before, because we didn't have the time to put in for a competitive grant. We always got our JAG grants and our grants from the state that were automatic awards. But when it came to competitive grants, it just took a lot of time and resources, and we didn't have anybody other than the chief and a couple of deputy chiefs to try and do that work. And it was the same in the fire department. But now by having this full-time grant writer, they paid for a position plus so much more than what we ever expected from this position. So got 11 pending grants right now. Seven of the 11 pending grants are new funding sources that we didn't have in the city before Kevin went out and started looking for these new opportunities. We've been able, it looks like as things continue through the process over the next month, we're going to have all 3 of our homeless service advocates paid for with grant money. And we've been able to do that from their existence. And every year we're like putting off how much we're going to have to fund. This is the year we're going to have to fund them. But between the grant from Intermountain Healthcare that's now transitioning to the state and an application for a federal grant, you were talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're going to be trying to add an additional homeless service advocate as well, because the 2 are just overworked as it is. But just a lot of good stuff happening with grants, and the fire department would tell you the same thing, that they've benefited greatly from having Kevin manage their grants. And the last one, our goals for fiscal year 2025, we want to continue to do a better job with staffing and increase our staffing even over what we've done in fiscal year 24. Obviously, we need to continue to reduce crime at the same rate we've been doing over the past several years. I mentioned we're going to be doing the department-wide dignity training, which is about, interactions with people in difficult situations and difficult populations, treating them with dignity. We're putting a lot of time and effort into the damage and graffiti that's happening in our parks and our bathrooms over the summer. We're going to repurpose our school resource officers for the summer to really work hard on our parks and our trails and our bathrooms, to try and stamp out this destruction that's been going on over the past few months. As I mentioned, we're going to increase our presence and enforcement on trails, not only does that have to do with problems on trails. We had an Ogden City employee who was assaulted by a juvenile who was on an illegal vehicle to be on a trail. We also get a lot of complaints about unleashed animals on the trails, animal control, people just letting their animals run wild on the trails, and everybody thinks their dog's nice until not everybody else thinks somebody else's dog's nice when it comes running up to them. So we're going to spend some extra time with animal services up there and get more presence on the paths. And then we're going to be working this year to start developing some programs so that as Marshall White comes on board, finish the end of FY25 into FY26, that we've got programs ready to go that make sure our officers are down at that center and engaged in part of what's happening with the youth. That center, it's not only something that I've talked about internally here at the city, but in discussions with Marshall White's son, Ron White, you know, and at those opening houses and the groundbreaking, I've made promises to him that he can count on us being part of this facility because it's important to Ron, just as it is to the rest of us, that, you know, that Marshall's legacy lives on with us supporting that facility and having the police be part of it and good influences and mentors for our children in the community. So I don't know how good of a job I did with the time, but I try to save a little time for questions if there are any. So
Questions here? Anybody want to lead off here? I've got a few. Councilmember Graff.
I'll take a stab. Thank you.
uh-oh.
Thanks for your time and for all the information you provided. So you just finished with trails and pathways, and I'm on them a lot, and I'm really glad to hear that there's going to be an effort put into that. Have you looked into partnerships at all, like with the Trails Foundation in Northern Utah? They have tons of volunteers, as does OTN, and I wonder if there's some education component that could come into play using those volunteers at various trailheads. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We actually we just got one of our lieutenants back on the Trails Foundation board to try and grow that relationship. And we'd had somebody in the past and somehow that kind of fell off of our radar. And so we have a leader back on that board just for that purpose, for them to go in and build those relationships and start trying to come up with some ideas of how we can partner. Because yeah, we're not always going to have the resources, you know, especially the trouble is the summers when we get the busiest, that's when the trails are used the most. So trying to find those bodies to free up from the call to get up there and spend the time, we could use as many volunteers that are trained in not how to deal with problems, but how to just be a presence, you know, to deter the problems would be a good thing.
Yeah. And then on crossing guards, I actually was contacted by a member of the community who is a crossing guard. And this person invited me to go out and open their morning with them. And we talked about safety, and this individual will go into the crosswalk to stop traffic to allow kids to cross or anybody to cross. They'll stop traffic for anybody that's on foot. And car come up, she's in the walkway and make a right-hand turn, which is illegal and dangerous. So this individual said that oftentimes they'll put themselves right in the lane of traffic rather than in that center spot to prevent that. So they're willing to sacrifice their own safety to ensure the safety of those crossing. And it didn't happen with that person, but then I left. This was out on Harrison. I went through two more and watched cars make that right-hand turn. I mean, it was just unbelievable how, I guess my point is there something that can be done, or is the department aware of some of these safety issues for these people that are in crosswalks and the form of maybe ticket writing? I don't know what you do, Chief. But.
Yeah, we do a lot. We actually, our traffic officers work the crossings heavily. We write a ton of tickets in there. I've met with the company over the past month that Utah's got a really restrictive photo radar law, but they do have the ability with an officer present to do photo radar in crossings and school crossings. Just have an officer there. So we're looking at their technology. If it looks like something that could be beneficial, we may be back with an idea for even potentially like a civil fine kind of a program for people who get caught on the radar. So we're unfortunately the legislature just we try every year to try and expand our photo radar, and some of you may not like it, but for us, it's just with the amount of resources we have for construction zones and school zones, we really could use it. So that's one thing we're looking at. We do a ton of enforcement with the traffic officers and they try and prioritize which of those, like The one on 12th Street for Mount Fort, which used to be for Gramercy Elementary, is a very dangerous one. The one 300 Harrison is a very dangerous one. The reality is we just got a ton of crossings and we
Yeah,
work with the
and-
school district to try but we have so many crossings in the city. It's difficult.
Yeah, and the high traffic ones would be a higher priority than the things closer into the city like Polk Elementary isn't gonna have the same kind of danger that you're gonna experience on Harrison probably. And I'm glad to hear there's some technology that could be put to use. When I had teenage drivers in my house, the refrigerator was full of photographs of my kids driving cars that were captured on the photo radar. So it's like a wall of shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, there's nothing wrong with that. We got our own little wall of shame. We let people know if they're doing things wrong. So, but no, we do. We spend as much time as we can on that to try and work those intersections and keep our people safe. We've been fortunate. We haven't.
Will you be
Had to
responsive to a crossing guard if they call for some support?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Jessica's job. They have a full-time supervisor just for the crossing guards.
Yep.
And then she works with the traffic sergeant, says, hey, we're getting complaints about this location. Can we get somebody up there?
Yeah, and I found her contact information on your website, so thank you,
Yep.
Chief.
Just- You bet.
So looking at I love to see the crime stats on the decline like that. That's impressive and exciting to see, and kudos. There was one line item that was increasing. And so I wonder if you can address that, and that's the rape one. And I don't know if it seems like the YCC, talking with them, that, there were maybe some things going on along those lines, but is it a budget thing? Is there things that we can do to address that one?
Yeah, it's something we pay close attention to. There's two things that have happened, I think. One's more anecdotal, one I know is they actually changed the way that rapes are reported a few years ago under the UCR and under NIBRS. And so they actually gathered a larger number of rapes became reported that weren't reported a few years ago. So part of that was that little bit of an artificial increase, but it's real. My anecdotal take on it is that kids are just not as safe today as they need to be in the way that they date, meet people, spend time with people that are strangers. These apps are dangerous. We had one of our officer involved shootings was from a lady that met some guy in an app and went to hang out with him. We ended up being kidnapped and had an officer involved shooting out of it. So we're working to try and be as much of a part of the education as we can. We did about 3 years ago, we saw this trend happening, and we partnered with the YCC to do some education in the bars. A lot of them where we were seeing higher numbers to the servers, the bouncers, to try and look at people who are at risk, look at people who may be overserved, do what we need to do to protect them. So we've pulled that public service announcement back out. We're going to rework with YCC on trying to do some more outreach and education, but it's really just a lot of it is not high number of these are acquaintance rapes, not stranger rapes. So we're just seeing over and over where kids are just putting themselves in more dangerous situations than any of us would ever been comfortable with when it came to dating and meeting people. It's just this new technological world, and a lot of them just don't seem to have the fear that you would think would be naturally, just like, weren't you scared to meet some guy that you didn't know other than some profile? Like, well, no, just hook up and meet him and see what, but so that's what we're trying to overcome. But that and the reporting thing has both led to that, and it is concerning for us as well.
Chair Ritchie.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up on that. So
Right.
either now or I can
No,
wait
go
till later.
for it. Yeah.
Okay. I read a New York Times article about this issue that on a national statistic is that there's only 12% of all sexual assault cases are actually reported. And of those 12, only 6% are prosecuted. And of those that are prosecuted, only about 3% are, they're found criminally in violation
Yeah.
or charged.
Yeah.
So is that anything that you can statistically that you have an awareness of in our community?
Well, I sure think our numbers would be a lot better than that. I worked sex crimes and crimes against children for a year, and I know that was one of the jobs that was actually our conviction rate was one of the highest because so many times we knew who the suspect was. So I without having the data, I'm scared to contradict what the
Right.
New York Times is saying.
And that's okay. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
what our community is like.
Yeah, and I'd have to look and pull the data, but we have a special victims unit in our investigations bureau just for these type of cases. they receive special training, have special skills, have all the resources available to them that they need, whether it's the DNA testing, whatever it is, they have whatever they need at their disposal to prosecute the cases. They can be difficult at times. If they do go unreported for a long period of time, yeah, we a lot of times lose physical evidence, and we don't typically have other witnesses. It's a lot of times circumstantial. And so that can be hard. And I absolutely believe they're underreported. I 100% believe that I don't know if that numbers are as high as what they're saying, but I have no doubt in my mind that not nearly as many are being reported as were happening, just out of the embarrassment, shame, not wanting to be involved with the
That's the
system.
largest factor that was
Yeah.
reported in that study, is that people were ashamed, and some people didn't know that they'd actually been
Mhm.
assaulted, even though they felt they were assaulted. It was, yeah.
And that's the other problem with, if you're, drinks and the things that are available to put in people's drinks these days, and there's so many risks. It's kind of a dangerous world, for those of us raising kids, it makes you kind of nervous, but we give them we train our investigators to always believe first. That's just the way it is. You believe what the victim has to say, and you start doing your investigation, and then until you can otherwise prove otherwise through evidence, we believe them, and we do everything we can to verify and prosecute those cases. And as I mentioned, we do have that special victims unit, which is specially trained just to work those kind of cases.
Next question I had was on the special events. Are officers compensated is that regular shift time, or is there special compensation or like overtime type of a situation?
Yeah, a lot of it ends up being overtime. Some of it for the traffic bureau and the community policing bureaus has to end up being part of their regular work days. So especially during the 24th, the week of the 24th, they adjust their schedules to work around the rodeo, or they adjust their schedules to work around some of those events. The other events like Twilight and those that pop up, a lot of those are overtime.
Okay.
And a lot of them that are like out of the, almost all of the marathon probably, that's overtime hours that all the police saw working that.
I guess I wonder if that's where, where we compensate employees based on ongoing revenues, if that's an area where we could do special compensation from maybe general fund revenues to offset some of those things where it is a drain, it is a heavier workload, but we could maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do have some events where the part of the permit process, they're required to fund their own security. So we do
security,
bill
yeah.
people for some of those events. We do have a
Okay.
lot of events we support. We also have developed a new special events matrix with working with special events and the other public services, police department, fire department. We're working on a matrix to start reevaluating all of our special events and what they actually bring to the community, to try and start making sure we're only supporting those that are critical to the community, and see if there's a way to have the organizers organize them in a way that doesn't just where you decide to have your 5K run, whether it's on the parkway or whether it's on the city streets, makes a big difference on how many officers we've got to have out there shutting down intersections. So we're trying to look at every option to maintain what's important to the city, but still, because a lot of our officers today, just regardless how much you pay them, a lot of them just don't want to work the events, to be honest with you. In my time, we never had to call people in involuntarily to work special events. There was just always plenty of people. My time working out on the street, I'm still my time, but not out there working events. But that's changed. We're a lot of times have to mandatorily assign people now to the parade, the big events, fireworks, marathon, because they just don't, they want their time more than they want the money these days. So.
Another question is on the animal licensing. Are fees still appropriate based on the information you shared, the licensing fee?
Yeah, we studied them. And I think we're charging what we should. I just don't think we're getting enough animals licensed, and that's something we've got to fix, is figure out how do we do a better job of we're just not touching, 1,000, there's no way we're touching anywhere near the number of dogs.
Actual dogs.
Yeah, so.
I think anyone knocking doors on a campaign realizes there are a lot more dogs in Ogden City than 1,000.
I bet you learn that quickly. Nice ones and not so nice ones. So.
And then last question is in the grants, that's phenomenal as well. In the 2025 proposed budget, you mentioned, I can't remember the exact number, how many were awarded or
we're like 3.38 right now or something.
Are those factored in, or I guess they wouldn't be factored in unless they've been awarded, but how much of that increase is factored into the 2025 budget?
Yeah, so those that were awarded that we knew were coming in, I'm sure that Lisa's and Justin we have to account for them, and they have to report to the city council on all the grants. So all of our JAG grants, all those, we had a reporting to the city council, but they wouldn't be under those you don't see them in like our general personnel equipment line items. Is that, so we may be able to spend a significantly large amount of money on some equipment that's not going to show up in our equipment line item. It's, but then I think you have to come back and report on that to the city council on a, you have to bail me out, Lisa. I'm sorry. Is it on a schedule that they have to report on them, or is it?
So it wouldn't be under the general fund police line.
Generally not, because it, to help with comparability year to year.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
do vary a lot up and down, so.
Okay. That's all I have.
So a few years back, we tried to adjust the rates, I guess, the levels, of the compensation of.
Oh,
the-
yeah.
And we talked a lot about, what were other cities gonna do?
Mm.
Have you heard about what other cities are gonna do, with compensation?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen because of the timing, I've seen what some have done, and unfortunately, one of the examples, I won't use the city's name, but one of the examples that I saw that is a really, to me, a ridiculous one. I'd love to sit through their planning process to know how they got these numbers, because it's not a huge wealthy city, but it was a city where the police department had a lot of struggles for a lot of years, and had in leadership and in staffing, and to fix that, now they're going to turn around and throw a bunch of money at the problem, which is kind of unfortunate. And then when people see that happened, others have responded. So I know what they did, and I know what another agency north of us is doing in response to that. But I feel comfortable and confident. We did a good job with our pay in the first day. People were very well taken care of, and they were very, very, very appreciative in my world, civilians and sworn. By the time we got through implementing everything from the Evergreen study, people felt like their city had stood up and taken care of them. And I'm comfortable with what I'm seeing and where we're going, that's going to happen again. That's where I feel like even with and I don't think we can be responsive to those examples I gave, because that's not us. We do a good job, and we have a good culture, and we're able to bring people in, and we shouldn't have to be that outlier, and put our citizens, tax bill higher than it should be. We should just be competitive. And from what I've been exposed to, what we've seen so far, I'm comfortable that we're going to be able to do that this year. And I think I'm feeling good about where my people are going to feel when this is all over.
Yeah, I always talk about it's like a little bit like a whack-a-mole, they raise it, we raise it, they raise it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And the reality is until unemployment starts going up,
Which it is.
it is steadily and a little bit, we're just in a market where, the employees are just, far more empowered to jump around than they were in the past. So, but I think it's going to stabilize, and I think we're doing the right things as a city, and I think we'll be in a good place.
So one other thing that you mentioned is, technology. How's it's not called that anymore.
Oh, yeah, the Area Tactical
Yeah,
Analysis
thank
Center.
you.
I still call it the RTCC all the time. Yeah.
How's that going? Did you budget for more cameras? What's the new technology types that you're looking at? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but.
Oh, no. Well, no, everything we do is very transparent. We don't have anything in there that I wouldn't bring anybody anywhere in, because we want people to feel good about what they're doing and what we're doing. So we're looking maybe be able to expand our LPRs a little bit. We have 22.
What's LPR?
License plate reader cameras. Yeah. So we've had great success with those. But that again is going to come under a grant program. We're also looking at expanding and upgrading the security cameras and infrastructure in 3 of our parks and bathrooms that are getting hit the heaviest. Again, that's some grant funding we're looking at. That's going to help pay for that bill. We're trying to, I get hit with asks to look at new technology probably 3 times a week, and I'm very critical of the ones I actually give some time to. And then when I do give some time to them, I'm even more critical. And I've passed on 3 or 4 just in the past year, because I don't want to be I don't want to be the bleeding edge. I just want to be the leading edge. And I feel like we've kind of hit kind of a max potential right now as far as technology to be ethical within what Utah's expectations are. LPRs is they are right now, we're at the max what we're going to be able to do with the legislature. They aren't a big fan of them. Artificial intelligence, they're not a fan of. Facial recognition, citizens in general, because the legislature is the representative of the citizens, or not. So we're not trying to push down a bunch of roads that we don't think would lead to something that citizens are going to be happy with anyhow. And that's where a lot of the technology right now you see going. We're just trying to make sure our fundamental procedures and things we're doing are working, which is, when we have, we've had two, we had a homicide, which ended up being a justifiable homicide at Jefferson Park a few weeks ago, over a misunderstanding. Well, the cameras we had in place led to a resolution of that case like this. In the past several months, we had a stabbing at the Lantern House involving two homeless individuals. We identified and captured the suspect with all the evidence in the world that fast because of it. So we've got a lot of good camera infrastructure. We're the biggest client of Flock, which is our license plate reader cameras in the state. There's other vendors out there, but we're the biggest for Flock. So I think we have the infrastructure to continue to accomplish what we need to do, all those threat assessments for big events. It's just fine tuning and making sure what we have works well rather than looking to spend a lot more new money on new technology and new programs. That's kind of not where we're looking right now. Plus, the city's got a really big contract maintenance budget right now is the reality. We've invested in a lot of technology. It takes a lot of technology to run a city. And now, those expenses, like everything else, the inflation goes up significantly and it gets to be more and more of a pinch. So we're trying to just kind of, other than grant opportunities, not spend a lot of new money on technology.
Chair, I've got a couple of questions that kind of came to mind, and maybe you'll want to answer, maybe you won't, and feel free to say I'll talk to you later or whatever.
Oh, I'm
But,
sure I will.
what's the kerfuffle over the quotas and stuff? There was a lot of allegations that we were just trying to make our officers write a bunch of tickets for the money, and nobody seemed to know how much money we were getting from fines and things of that nature. So I guess there's two questions in there. Do we now know how much comes into the budget from fines, and how have you adapted to get that kerfuffle unfuffled?
So we do know, unfortunately, there was just they used some information in their initial article that wasn't correct. So we had to go back and find the correct data to make sure what they were printing was correct, which they didn't. They stuck with the thing. I've told all of you what this is about. It's about accountability, performance, keeping our community safe, keeping those crime numbers going down. And we were due to readdress kind of our standards. It had been since 2018 since we'd looked at them. So we were readdressing them and we're looking at some potential changes to our evaluation system. But one thing you have to understand is there really wasn't a lot of kerfuffle. There was just couple former employees driving one reporter to do a story. I've met with tons of people at the legislature and got very little pushback. They appreciated what we're doing. I actually had a couple legislators say maybe you could work with the state to kind of help build a program to drive accountability without having a quota. So really appeared to be a lot more than there was to it.
Well, I felt that at the time I went to bat for you.
I don't know, and I appreciate
And,
everybody was very supportive, and I'm what I told you in that meeting was
Yeah.
what we do and why we do it.
The only input that I ever got from citizens is they wish we would enforce better because of the speeders, the noise makers, things of that, the real irritations to people's quality of life sitting in the backyard trying to eat a hamburger.
Yeah.
But and the safety was an issue too. So
Well, I appreciate that, and that's what we hear too. That's the complaints we get is too much speeding, too much loud noise, and we want officers out taking care of the neighborhood, and they're doing a good job of that. And they're working hard. So,
all right, thank you. Appreciate it.
no problem.
Chair, if I may, just one
Yeah.
more. It's getting to be more than a handful of years ago now, when I attended a city council meeting, and I think it was Truth and Taxation, and police uniforms were in the council chambers in great number. And I think that the tax increase was gonna go to compensate the police department because you were investing in recruiting, training, put them in the car, and then they're being siphoned off to another agency after you'd invested that. And that turnover was very costly. And what you wanted to do was, or what the department wanted to do was stem that tide of departure by paying better. It's great to hear that or at least I think I'm hearing that that has been arrested to a large degree. In your experience around your retention growing to be much greater, is there something else that has been done within the department that has led to greater retention and reduced turnover that has to do with things other than just compensation?
Well, it's like I talked about in the very beginning, it's those values, it's the culture. We really care about our culture and I care about my people. And I go out of my way to make sure they know that. No matter how bad of a day I'm having, I come in with a smile on my face and ask people how they're doing and how their wives are and how their kids are, their husbands are. And if they're having a hard time that I'm aware of, I track them down and ask them about it, see how we can help them. I know when people are going through hard things, I try and seek them out. But we truly try and build a culture where people feel like they're valued. And I think that's why you see, and my deputy chief, my captains are all just as invested in that as I am. We're all on the same page of taking care of people and trying to make people better. And I think that's why you're seeing the examples like I gave of the two sergeants who are coming back just to be patrol officers at Ogden, because to some people, and I think some of them who've really got their, their priorities right, where they work and the conditions they work in are just as important as how much they get paid. So we have to be competitive. Don't get me wrong. Culture and environment and training and equipment and all the other good things that we do. We go out of our way to make sure that when we give transfers, it's based on a ranking system. So if you're performing well, you get an opportunity for a transfer, not just because you might know the lieutenant over that bureau. So we do a lot of things to make sure our culture's on key, but we don't have to be the highest paid in the state, but we have to be competitive, keep that balance. And that's what's got us where we're at, to where we're more like 4 or 5 or 6 down and not 20, 22 down. And so that's why it's important. And I highly value these compensation studies that we're doing, because it's real data and it's unbiased. It's just, we're going to go out as an impartial observer and we're going to look at what the market's doing. And we're going to tell you what is good for this market. This is what you should be at this market. It's not somebody just trying to say, well, I heard so-and-so's this, or I heard so-and-so's that. They're looking at the whole picture. So it's something that's very easy for me to take back to my people and say, hey, this is an unbiased study and the city's been committed to implementing it and doing the right thing. And that's, I think, because we did that before and we're looking at doing that again, is why we're seeing those changes and losing people. We still lose some, but not like we were before.
Thanks.
Councilmember White, or Vice Chair White?
Yeah, just real quick. So you have a lot of grants, so I'm assuming there's matches to them, where does the match come?
No, we really don't have a lot of match grants in the public safety world. We're very fortunate in that respect. No, and in some of the other grants in other parts of the city, there's a lot of match, like in housing and development, some of that, but we very few matches in ours.
I appreciate your presentation on the evaluations that you do of your staff and then the breakdown of those separate training principles that you focus on. I think that is outstanding. It just keeps the striving for excellence in your staff. I like the way that you are emphasizing that. That appeals to me a lot. I think that builds good culture and excellence and good teamwork. And so I just want to commend you for that. I think that appeals to me a lot, especially the training part you referred to. So that's awesome. So I do have a question. And my question is, I went through the many different budgets within your department and just reviewed those, and some requests in those segments of budgets were higher and some were reduced. And I get it. I understand how that works. And there's a lot of moving pieces in your budget. So
There is.
I just want to commend you for that. But for me, as a council person, again, knowing that I'm accountable to community people, and when they approach me and say, hey, we saw that there's a 10% budget increase in a couple different categories in your budget, how can I express what your hope is in that budget increase?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and typically, like this year, we didn't have any new asks at the police department. We knew we were coming into a difficult year with a compensation study. I knew that, revenues were leveling off nationwide, and Ogden's no different. So this year, when people ask about changes in our budget, you can tell them the police department came in and actually reduced a part-time position by hiring a part-time into a full-time position. And they're not asking for new positions other than that school resource officer that we were able to work in, which is about 66% of it's funded by the school district. We're trying to reduce costs every year. We're trying to trim our budget because we know things are getting a little leaner. And when you see funds go up or down in different parts of our budget. That's typically just an evaluation of at a certain point in time, which people are assigned where and where are they at in the pay scale. So they may have to shift our budget up in patrol because we have more senior officers in patrol, and may shift it down investigations. We have younger officers investigations, but it's not necessarily an addition of more money. It's just a lot of times just moving it to line up with where the people are in the department.
So I had kind of a hard time figuring this out just on those different budgets because it's a deeper dive than I had time to do as I reviewed things. But it appeared to me that the overall increase in budget was request was probably going to be around. My estimate was about 8%. Is that about right?
Well, yeah, if you figure there's increases, and yeah, and Lisa would be able to talk better, but you're looking at, to write the new budget, you're looking at increases in healthcare. We had a significant increase to our retirement per tier 2 officers of 2%. All those things combined together for the overall, and then whatever, step raises are due to officers in the next period of time account for some of that. But all the increases in our budget were due to natural growth in expenses like healthcare, retirement, natural raises that are coming along as part of their step plan. They weren't due to, other than the one school resource officer that we're partially funding. That's all that the new revenue that we're seeing are new increases. We're not getting new money in our equipment budgets. We're not getting new money in our supplies budgets. It's just the natural growth in the budget from year to year due to the expenses overall for the city going up. Is I think is that kind of
That's amazing. That's
fair to state that way.
I
Yeah.
appreciate your response.
Yeah, and I'm always happy. I managed that budget for several years as an assistant chief. So even though Deputy Chief Subi does a lot of it now, I still know each one of those accounts really well and what they go to pay. And I'm always happy to answer any of those questions because that's why I said we really are getting leaner because we know we have to get leaner because we're just, as we get fully staffed, our budget, it's built to be pretty lean at fully staffed, not to be very plentiful. So that's where we're trying to be right now and be accountable. We have to be accountable to taxpayers and what we spend money on. So,
Thank you.
All right.
okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Plenty of
Chief.
time. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think we'll take a 10-minute break, bio break, grab some food, and then Lisa will have you right off. So 10-2, it's about an 8-minute break. How's that? looking around the room at all the appropriate people here. Tracy, we're good to go. Everyone's set. All right. Welcome up, Lisa, our Management Services Director, to present more budget fun.
Thank you. I do appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the Management Services Department. For those of you who are not completely familiar with everything Management Services does, I just have a list of all of the departments. Under the administration, we have the Sustainability Coordinator. He works with the Sustainability Commission. Thank you for renaming that, by the way. And then Linda Lartiga actually works under the mayor's office and with some joint supervision between the mayor's office and management services. Marketing and communications was a part of administration. I've put that in blue because one of our budget requests this year is to make that its own division and reclassify the coordinator, the marketing and communication coordinator, to a division manager. So that's a proposal in the upcoming budget. Fiscal operations is responsible for our banking, collections of invoices, ensuring that the money is deposited correctly and timely. And purchasing helps with all of the buying. The city does a lot of RFPs, helps with contracting, getting those contracts routed, making sure they're executed. Any dates in the contract that need to be watched, helping watch those dates. When we went to Cobblestone, those controls really improved. And I think that it will save the city a lot of money over time to just have better management and control of those contracts. Utility billing is also under management services. Brandy Johnson supervises fiscal operations, purchasing, and utility billing. Justin Sorensen is the city comptroller, so that's the accounting staff. Human resources under Heather Brisky. And then Heather also supervises risk management. I've underlined risk management, fleet and facilities, and IT because those are accounted for in separate funds. They're called internal service funds. The recorder's office, Tracy Hansen, which you've probably met her once or twice. The Justice Court, Pam Richardson. Fleet and facilities, Monica Kapp. IT, Brian Martinez. And then again, in the proposed budget, there is a proposal to create a new fund called the Paid Parking and Mobility Fund. In your packet, there's a presentation of the total budget for management services in the general fund. It's just over $7.3 million. And it's divided up between all of those general fund divisions. The majority of the payroll or the dollars in management services goes to people, pay for people, just over $5 million. And then the next biggest category is contract services, which is about $1.3 million in the general fund. This is also in your packet. This is a representation of all of the areas that management services has a budget in, all of the different funds. There also is a budget in the CIP fund. These reports are driven off our account numbers, and I think we have that CIP set up under non-departmental, so it didn't show up on this report, but there's a budget in the CIP fund of $400,000 for facility maintenance. I just want to review the mission statement for management services. We're kind of the hub of the wheel. This is something that Mara talked about a few years ago when she was the management services director, that really our purpose is to serve the citizens of Ogden, of course, but also to make it possible for all of the other departments to be efficient and effective in providing services. Then we also strive to provide accurate, timely, and innovative internal services so other departments can provide services to the public through IT, risk management, and fleet and facilities. We try to build trust through effective communication, performance, and outcomes. And we are ethical, respectful, engaged, and the leaders in municipal operations in the state of Utah. Just to highlight some of the accomplishments for management services this past year, and there were pages and pages of them that my staff sent me, so I pulled a few of them out. The diversity office created a citizenship path program, the Pathway program. I'm sure that you've all heard about this. It was just an amazing experience. I went to the graduation, and 22 people were helped in submitting their applications to become citizens. You will be seeing a budget opening for this pilot program, this EV pilot program. It's through an EECBG grant, and it will allow the city to purchase 3 vehicles and install a couple of charging stations to start looking at how we can effectively incorporate EV into our fleet. Utility billing. We opened an online bill pay portal. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to use that online portal, but it seems very simple to go online and pay your bill at the city website. We did an RFP this past year for new banking services, which is a big deal for a city our size. It affects so many operations that the city has and is integrated. Really, the bank is integrated into our financial system. So to switch to a new bank, it's time consuming and it's challenging, and you don't want to mess up your bank reconciliation. So it needs to be right. The comptroller's office implemented ClearGov for CIP this past year. This was the first year it has kind of a different look and feel, a little more interactive. The hope is we can continue to build on that and build a database that can really be useful to the citizens in the council. The recorder's office has done a lot of work to streamline and make their minutes process more efficient for council meetings. Their goal is to have them done into you in 30 days or less. I'm really impressed with the work they've done and just really, really happy for that effort. And then in the HR office, they've been engaged pretty much the past 9 months in the compensation study. It's been a big effort for them. Just some other highlights. I just wanted to stress the media impact that marketing and communications has. This year they launched an Ogden community magazine, mailing it to all Ogden city addresses, all zip codes. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a very nice magazine. They've done a very good job with that. And then the newsletters, the At Your Service newsletters, they do that every month, both in Spanish and English. So appreciate their work. I just wanted to highlight this. The city recorder's office spent a lot of time creating an archive of city photos. And the state of Utah is going to recognize them for this work and just showing how important those archives can be. It's really helped us with the WIFIA loan that we've been applying for. A lot of that old contract information was necessary to get clearance to get that loan. So each year, we generally ask for some funding for facilities. We have one CIP where we ask for funding to maintain our existing facilities. I just wanted to list some of the things that we were able to do with that budget this past year. We did a roof replacement for public services. We put a new lift in the streets shop, the fleet shop. This lift will make it safer for them to maintain vehicles. We did a major renovation to the 5th floor, carpet replacement on the 9th floor, some shed insulation up at Mount Ogden, and there is an upcoming project. I think that's been scheduled for the 3rd floor to replace carpet. Some cost-saving measures that have happened this year. We closed the lockbox. We used to mail all of our utility bills to a lockbox in Seattle, and they would process them for us and deposit them. We closed that lockbox this past year and are using existing staff to process those payments. It's going to save us about $15,000 annually to do that. Then the RFP for banking services, one of the benefits of this change will be lower fees, just a better rate on a lot of the services we receive from our new bank, which will be JP Morgan. And then an ongoing project for risk management is to continue to improve our workers' compensation rate. I call it an EMOD. Some of you are probably more familiar with this than I am. So trying to lower that EMOD so our insurance rates will go down. Some of our challenges, just a citywide challenge, an ongoing challenge, is the just change management with new technology. I feel like technology's really changed maybe in the last 5 years, and that's sometimes hard for employees to make changes to their processes and the way they work. And we also have made a big effort to integrate a lot of our systems, and that has really required employees to change processes, and that change management can be very hard sometimes. That's an ongoing challenge, and probably will be for forever, honestly. IT has tried to be more proactive. They've kind of created a team that works with our main software, which is Tyler, to try and work on these integration issues, try and make it more user-friendly for the end users, and help them adapt to the technology and make changes to their processes so they can see it be effective and worthwhile in using. Another challenge, something that we're working on, is AI policy. I really am excited to see AI put to use in the city. I think it could create a lot of efficiencies for us. But there is the protection of the city that's necessary, and really that's such a new emerging field. Legal doesn't really know what to do with it yet. There hasn't been a lot of laws created around AI, so just some uncertainty there. And then in HR and risk, long-term employee planning and retention, and then training and safety for liability reductions and employee safety. And we are looking at doing some studies, some staffing studies this next year. There in the year-end budget proposal, there was a funding source recommended to get started on this. we'd like to break the city apart because not every company is going to be an expert in CED, fire, police, HR. So we're going to make a recommendation that we break the city into pieces so we can do an RFP asking for different proposals for areas of the city. Just some more ongoing challenges, grandma requests, just the time and effort it takes to work on grandma requests. Tracy's next goal for her area is to work on minutes and just making sure the committees and commissions are noticing properly and taking minutes properly. In fleet and facility, contract cost increases. That's been a challenge, and long lead time for certain equipment and parts. And then in the justice court, one of the challenges that they face regularly are changes that the state makes through legislation, and just getting those implemented is challenging for them at times. Long-term challenges. I think employee recruitment and retention will be ongoing. I think that's going to just the way the workforce is now, the way people like to work. I think that's just going to be an ongoing challenge for the city. You know, our goal is to look at flexibility. That seems to be very satisfying for people if they can have some flexibility in their schedules. So where that's appropriate and allowable, allowing for that flexibility. And then also the model of having seasonal workers is really an outdated model. We really struggle getting seasonal part-time workers. And so we need to be looking over time to convert some of those to full-time ongoing positions. And because this need is seasonal, maybe using them a little differently during the slower times, whatever that looks like. So that's an ongoing concern. And then another ongoing concern is cost outpacing revenue. Council member Meyer, you asked the chief about his increases in payroll, and really it's was driven by what's in there now was driven by URS and increases to our insurance. We don't have a lot of control over those costs. So there is a risk of those costs outpacing our revenue, and that's just an ongoing challenge. Regularly renegotiating contracts, I think, is a good way to address some of those issues. Doing RFPs and looking at the market to make sure our prices haven't been overinflated by vendors. And then fee studies, where appropriate, to offset costs. That those fees, the city fees, can be driven by what it costs to provide the service when we're talking about recreation or something like that. As far as new funding requests in the fiscal year 25 budget, I was on autopilot apparently. So when you read that, read intern for diversity office instead of sustainability office. I apologize. There are no new funds requested for this position. We are looking to take some of our professional technical funding from both the comptroller's office and the admin area, and create this budget will be about $41,000 for this intern, part-time intern. This person will assist the Diversity Commission. In addition to the commission meetings and notes, they have 4 very active subcommittees, and it's challenging for Linda to make all of those meetings and assist them in their projects. So this person will help with that. Additionally, we've been offered a opportunity through National Geographic to do some storytelling of people's stories who live in Ogden. We're going to do that through the Diversity Commission and look to maybe have a youth involvement to help us do that, but someone to help manage that program as well. And that would be kind of a 3-year program. It does come with some funding. So when we are actually awarded that, we can get some more information to you on that. It sounds like a really neat project. We also have an increase in IT costs in management services. So this is not an increase overall. This was accounted for in non-departmental, and we're splitting those costs out to each department. So the underlying contracts that are paid for this is web QA, which is the grandma software. There's a lease management software we use for financial reporting. So anything that's department related is accounted for there. And this was an effort because those costs for IT has been going up so much. This was an effort to kind of push that into departments and force managers and department directors to manage those a little closer. We're also asking for a part-time clerk for HR and risk management. This would increase the budget in the risk management fund by about $41,000. The proposal is to split the HR manager wages between the general fund and risk management to create a reduction in their full-time pay, so we could create this part-time budget. And overall, it would be about an increase of $41,000 in the risk management fund. In marketing communication, the reclassification of the coordinator to director would be about $3,000 to $4,000. In HR, we have a new contract for a mental health provider for public safety, and that's $185,000. And then a total budget in the parking and mobility fund of $851,000, just over $851,000. That would pay the $132,000 for the coordinator wages and would also put a budget in there for a small debt payment. If you remember, when we actually bonded for the parking structures, we ended up taking out $5 million in franchise or sales tax bonds to help lower the cost of the total debt load for that fund. And so we couldn't delay that payment under that financing structure. So that's $251,000 a year. And then the rest would be set aside in that fund for a backstop when we hire a management company to help us pay those costs until we start seeing good cash flow from that. Additionally, reminds me in the administration budget where we had a temporary full-time budget in there this year for a parking coordinator. We're taking that out and proposing to move it to this budget. What I'd like to do, because those funds have not been used, is propose transferring it over to this new fund during fiscal year 25 after the fund's set up. So that it could just be used for financial backstop. Any questions so far?
That's going to be one less position than was originally proposed? Did I understand that right?
No, it's the same. It's in there, but we had proposed it just temporary for 1 year.
Okay.
And just some justification for why that position is necessary. When we implement the paid parking program, it's going to necessitate the help of public services, police, management services. So the coordination between all of those departments and making sure that it operates smoothly Additionally, we don't want to outsource any appeals. If anyone comes in for appeal of a parking citation, we still want to hold that in-house. So the number of those citations is going to go up, and we'd like to have this person help with that process as needed. Additionally, we've talked about the possibility of using an outside firm to manage this for the first 3 years, and then taking it in-house. And so we'd like someone that works closely with this vendor, learning those operations and the tricks of the trade, I guess.
Lisa, if I may,
Yes.
Before we get too far down the road, the RFP for banking services in your change from whomever we have been banking with
Mhm.
to, who'd you say, Chase?
JP Morgan.
What's the projected savings in that move for the city?
I don't have a projected amount, but the fee schedule did have some breaks for certain numbers of, or certain levels of deposits. And so we think we can manage to those levels to reduce those fees, but I don't have a specific dollar amount.
With regard to work and retaining workers and people working differently now, do we have a policy? Do we have employees working remotely for Ogden City?
We do have a few, and we do have a telecommuting policy that we created when COVID happened. We're actually working on updating that policy right now.
So we don't have a great number of people working outside.
No, because of the type of work the city does, it's hard to have, they're like the accounting office can have telecommuting. I mean, that makes sense, but a city cashier needs to be on site.
Okay, thank you. And then it's been mentioned in a number of places that there's going to be an increase in the cost of benefits provided to employees, and the city is going to absorb that.
Mhm.
What is that amount? How much overhead are we adding to or absorbing into benefits provision?
So URS rates go up and down every year. It's just based on their actuarial estimates. Interest rates have been higher this lately, so they've actually lowered the rates for several of those tiers. In addition to that, the increase that they're talking about is employee pickups that the city has chosen to pick up. So that's in police, it's 2.15. Is that the we're increasing? So I think the rate went from 46 something to 45 something, and then we're picking up this employee pickup side of 2.15. So
Employee pickup, that's a truck that I drive down the street.
Oh, so we by law participate in Utah retirement systems, and they set the rates. They tell us how much we have to pay them to provide a retirement package to employees.
For public employees.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that rate is different for fire and police and general employees. Police is in tier 1 is, I think it's 46 point something % of their wages. So when you think of the load, the overhead of hiring a policeman, we have to put almost 50% of their annual pay into the retirement system. Fire, we actually have an agreement with fire. And then URS has a portion that is employer paid and then employee paid. And we have chosen to pick up the employee paid portion the last couple of years for police. Fire, does the same thing. It's got the same situation. And we have actually capped that agreement with fire at 21.5%. So if it ever exceeds that percentage, the employee will have to pick it up based on this agreement. But until it does, we'll just always pay 21.5% into retirement for firefighters. Healthcare went up about 12% this year.
Absorbing that, as well as the city not asking for a greater level of participation from employees.
That was considered, however, with, so whatever we ask the employees to pick up, it really is a reduction in pay to them because they're paying more for their benefits. And just based on the concern with not being at market already, the city chose to pick up that increase.
Do you think it's clear to everybody? I never worked with, I was always self-employed, so I never had a benefits package and understood what the value of that was. Does the city work to inform our employees what their benefit package is worth?
Yeah, we
and
do.
What our participation is at the city level that they don't have to
Yeah.
take on their own?
Yeah, we do. And I know with police, because I think there's a lot of comparing this entity to this entity in the police department. They actually have a calculator they encourage their employees to use. That's a total benefit package calculator when they're looking to go somewhere else.
Okay, and then the last is you spoke about a timeline until our paid parking system is cash flowing.
Yes.
Do we have a anticipated timeline on that?
So our goal is to come back to council in the fall with an ordinance and a fee schedule proposal that would be adopted in December, so it could be made effective in January. So we'd like to start, that's our goal, is to start charging for that paid parking in January. Now the structure, of course, will not be done. So the first area, and really if you look at the model for paying for this, a lot of where the city's revenue will come from is on-street parking in the downtown area.
Right, and until we establish rates, are you saying we can't see a timeline?
No, well, so our goal is to have them in place so we could start charging in January. But there's the process we need to go through is with council before we can do that. Thank you. Did I hit them all? I think I did. Sorry. Oh, just a couple more. In the fleet and facilities stores, we're asking for full-time funding for a second store clerk. We've had a part-time stores clerk there for several years, and we found that with the two of them, if he takes a day off or she's not there because she's only working part-time, there wasn't coverage in the store. And we have an inventory of about $700,000 in there that for separation of controls, we don't want mechanics going in there and getting their own parts. We want someone checking them out through a work order to an asset, to a car. So this is just to better control and staff that, just to make sure we're not having any loss. And then in IT, we found that the overtime, the last couple of years, they've exceeded their overtime budget. Of course, if something goes down, we are so dependent on technology, it's really impossible not to have it up and running. So with that, we're asking for an increase to that budget of $36,000. That will be budget neutral. We're decreasing some other line items to fund that. We do have 3 capital improvement projects in the CIP this year. Can't read that. Our general facilities project, that's to maintain existing facilities, the maintenance and any necessary improvements to those. And then we have another CIP called ballistics and security. We're asking for $400,000 in fiscal year 25. We have $500,000 sitting in there. Currently, Monica is working with the architect to develop a plan for the community building up on Monroe, where the parks and recreation staff are, and also the public services building, just to tighten up security so the employees feel safe. And then finally, we have a project in there for the amphitheater bathrooms. And if you look at the project, there's some really great pictures of how awful they look. We're currently still working with the contractor to get realistic costs on what that would be. We do have a meeting next week to see if we can do anything internally for the next year. And then we will likely be asking for funding in fiscal year 26 for that project. This is small, I apologize. I wanted just to provide you a 5-year fleet replacement list. Currently, we are putting $2.2 million into the replacement budget. And each year, the department sits down with the fleet staff and they look at their assets that are aging and need to be replaced. They look at a few things. They look at the age, they look at the miles it's being used, how often it's used. So it's not just that it's 5 years old, we're going to replace it. It's, you know, that its maintenance is increasing and it's probably time for us to replace this vehicle. So you will have a copy of this, and they do have a 5-year projection in here for that replacement. And it looks like 2.2 million is about right. We tend to add to that during the year as they sell things on gov deals. We're appropriating some additional money. So I don't think that they have really programmed that last year. I don't think that 700,000 is realistic. There's probably more assets, but you know, that's kind of a longer horizon, and I think they need to do some more work on that. Okay, IT equipment. IT has really 2 equipment budgets. One is this infrastructure budget. We are going to replace some firewalls with that budget this next year. And then some switches that are really not being supported anymore. They've started on that this year and they're going to continue that process. If there is funding left, they would also like to address some connectivity issues. One of the main connectivity concerns they have is redundancy between municipal building and the public safety building. And then additional storage. The other equipment budget they have is a $70,000 for tiering, and that's used to replace laptops, MDTs, those are the computers in the officers' cars, tablets and printers. They divide that up by department, and as you can see, it's not a lot of money for some departments, especially. So generally, the departments, if the need is bigger, they will supplement that funding with finding some money in their budget to do that. Goals for this coming year: launch the citizen reporting software. That's one of the things we'd like to get done. Also, the comptroller's office wants to launch the ClearGov budget book. This would be an interactive book that would allow people to look at a longer history of actual expenses for the city, and create some more interactive reports. HR and risk is working on some mandatory OSHA training, try and improve the liability and the safety of employees. And IT will continue to work on application integration enhancement, and the recorder's office is working on a manual for to help people who are working with committees and boards to make sure that we're complying with state law for noticing and minutes and other requirements. And then we will, of course, continue to look for efficiencies and cost savings. One of the items they asked us to address is what we would be requesting of unused budget dollars this year. In the CIP budget, we did not fund anything for general facilities. We like to look and see if there's any funding left that was not used in the general fund. And I am actually asking this is in the year-end budget opening, to use some payroll dollars from public services. They just with the vacancies they've had for part-time and seasonal workers this year, we're estimating they will be about $400,000 under budget in that category. And there's just a list of the items that would be used for. Thank you.
Questions for Lisa? We had a question break there in the middle there for a bit, but Councilmember Myers.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. That's a beautiful presentation you've done. So in your diversity committee, you talked about those that were on pathway to citizenship.
Mhm.
Is there anything that we do for the many undocumented people to help them strive towards becoming documented, which is actually
Mhm.
a lot further?
Yep.
It dates, I guess, they're becoming
Yep.
on the path to citizenship.
Those work visas,
Yes.
super important. They do have a clinic they hold. They just did one a couple of months ago, and I don't remember the organization. Mara, do you remember the organization that helps with that clinic? They bring in attorneys to help them complete this paperwork. And
For
They're called No Mas.
No Muss. Yeah.
so we provide staff to help with that event every year.
That's an important part. That's a lot of undocumented people that are writing.
We do, and the ability to change a life through that process is just amazing.
Takes those people out of the shadows.
It
lets
it really
them
does.
walk out. I had a question on the marketing newsletter, and I know 360 Marketing does that newsletter for you. Do we pay anything out of our budget to that, or is that produced through what their advertising dollars is?
No, we don't. We pay for those and I want to say it's about 18,000 an issue. And we do it quarterly. And we have a budget under the marketing that's just called marketing. That's about 200,000 a year, and that's where that comes from.
Product.
And
Mhm.
Councilmember Myers, I don't think the mic's picking you up as well. Sorry, just
Okay. And then the third question I have is, in the business sector, there's a lot of businesses that are using seasonal workers that bring people that are documented up from mostly Mexico.
Mhm.
And they come up for a seasonal period of time. They might come up and work 8 or 9 months
Yeah,
out of the year.
migratory workers, yes.
Yeah, migratory workers. Is that anything that the city is interested in doing with to cover some of your part-time or seasonal workers?
You know, it's something I never thought of. That's a great suggestion, and we would be happy to look into it. I'm looking at the public services director, the person that would utilize the most of those, and
We would love to have our positions. We would love to have. We would love to have our positions filled, so if they are properly documented and are interested, we have a lot of openings.
And
that's
the
a
way that-
great suggestion.
The way that works is a little opposite of that.
Mhm.
You apply for the documents first for those people, and then you can secure the people that can come up to take those positions. I'll get you some contact information on how that works. I'm not the perfect person to answer those questions, but I'm aware of the program. Yeah. And there's many of the landscaping companies here in Ogden that they live by those
Mm.
workers that come up just on a seasonal basis.
So what we will do is actually HR to make sure that HR.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, moving right along. Oh, did we want to do the Schedule A? Let's go ahead and, sorry, Lisa,
No.
the Schedule A changes.
Brandon, I was wondering if you could pull that Schedule A up out of the packet and put it up on the screen. I apologize. Justin's out of town. He's at Jellystone National Park. I don't know where that is. Sounds amazing.
Jellystone?
Hurricane, that's right.
Okay. Yogi Bear. Wow.
So I wasn't prepared for this. I apologize. I can't remember it now.
Glenn, do you have that information that maybe you could just do it real quick?
Yeah, so far, Schedule A changes are. There's one correction in fleet and facilities to that position wasn't included in the budget. And I think the total is about 80,000. 60,000 was from fund balance, and then 20,000 was a reduction in some other expenses. And then the second change is from the annual action plan. So you all adopted the final numbers, the CDBG numbers a few weeks ago, and that change was about $41,000 reduction to get the final numbers. So those are the only Schedule A changes we have so far. We'll probably know more in the next week or so if there are other changes that the council is interested in making.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to take control away from you.
No, by all means.
Doesn't wanna- The mouse, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, Brandon.
I got you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, the 60,000 that Glenn mentioned, that's for the full-time stores clerk. It was just inadvertently left out of the proposed budget. Because of the part-time funding, the total request is $60,000. And then the changes that Glenn mentioned to the entitlement, the HUD numbers in the Schedule A1. One of the requirements from HUD is that our budget matches our annual action plan. So this trues those up. Any questions?
More to come.
More to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll bring up Justin Anderson, our Director of Public Services, to continue the dialogue.
I'm gonna have Taylor also join
Taylor.
with me. From a few years ago. Now you know why we're asking for more money, huh? No,
That was last year.
We need new trucks.
but
Is Jay Louder in there somewhere? I think he's on the front row.
he might be. If Jay was here, he would beat me for saying that, so. No, we have a few old pictures in the presentation from years back.
I thought it was just neat of seeing where we were and where we're going to. And honestly, it helps us understand where we're expected to go to in the future as well. So.
Where that facility is.
Right down by where I think present day Public Works is at. So in fact, I've got another picture of a front end loader that you can actually see some of the same buildings that are there from 1964. So I think that's when these were taken, is 1964. So fun. Yeah, it might be. So yeah, public services. So let's see here. We go advance. There we go. Thank you, Brandon. So just real quickly, here's kind of a breakdown of our public services department, of the different divisions from recreation, public utilities, engineering, parks and cemetery, operations, and golf. So, and I forgot to mention too, we also have Brady Hurd with us here from our water utility division, who's sitting in the stands back there as well. So, here's kind of some faces to who runs this. So, as you can see, me and Taylor up here. We also have Lisa Brinkerhoff, who honestly keeps everything running smooth. That's her job, is to keep us all in line and on top of everything. And Lisa does a fantastic job. But then you have Ed Bridge, starting on the left, is the recreation manager. You have Brady, who is over water utility. Monty Stewart, who's over parks and cemetery. Vince Ramos, who is over operations. And then Todd Brinkman, who is our golf pro for the city. So this is, when we talk about general fund budget and public services, this is what we are talking about. So the arts and culture, that's essentially Christmas Village is what that is, for that amount. But then you also have engineering, our parks and cemetery, our public services admin, our recreation, and our streets. So that makes up about $15 million in general fund money. Now, if you look at our entire budget, we are at $93 million. So, which is really 3 times the size of any other department in the city. And that makes up a lot of different things. And another thing that's not in here is actually the Canyon Waterline funding as well. So that will be a large chunk. Again, being so big, if I went through every accomplishment public services did, we would be here for hours. So I'm just going to randomly pick some, but if you have questions on something, feel free to ask. So I'm more than happy to talk about, because I will say this, I want to brag on our employees a little bit. They go out and just do the work every day to make sure people have water, they have sewer, that they can be safe driving on the roads, that our signal lights work, that flooding doesn't happen, that their garbage is picked up, that when there is a problem, that they get a call, they show up to help fix things. So they do a ton of stuff quietly every day without a lot of recognition. So I do want to brag on them a little bit here today. So again, some of our accomplishments is at El Monte, the irrigation system that's been done there. If you haven't been out to El Monte and seen that, I see a thumbs up right there. It is night and day difference of what is able to happen. And because they've got the new irrigation system there, they are now free, instead of going out and just fixing line breaks every day, they are free to go do other improvements. So if you've been there lately, you will see the improvements that are going on there. And it just is awesome. Like the deck that's happened there too. So if you want to go out for lunch and go just relax and have a great view, go out and to El Monte and grab a hamburger and go sit on that deck. Another things recently is the charging stations at the Muni building, and we're continuing also to work on adding more charging stations and working with our partners like Rocky Mountain Power. Something else is we've always had the Utah High School baseball all-star game here in Ogden. But until last year, there was not a high school softball recognition game. That changed last year, and that changed due to Ed Bridge getting involved and making that happen. And so I want to give Ed some credit there. Some of the other accomplishments is we've begun construction on the Marshall White Community Center. It's going up. And then also engineering's been handed the construction portion of the Wonder Block project. So that's another project that we are running with and performing. And then also, if you've been up to Buse Pond lately, you've seen some improvements going on up there as well. Again, doing the work that we do, we have an economic impact, talking about recreation, just in a few of their programs. And I know you've probably heard some of these before with Visit Ogden coming in, but 7-on-7 or comp baseball, they have impacts to our community financially and economically. Another thing that quietly happened is our sewer department did what was called a rapid assessment tool, where they've gone out and sonared all of our sewer pipes, which is honestly a hard job at times. And so since we've been doing that, we haven't had any sewer main backups because they've been able to get ahead of anything that was starting to clog up. So a lot of great work there. Our storm division done a phenomenal job the last really 2 springs. I haven't heard of other, than maybe something up at 9th Street, not this last year, but the year before. We've done very well making sure our public is safe. And another thing that's not as well known is we've connected fiber to our well sites up at by Pine View Reservoir, which might not seem like much, but what that enables us to control and do is phenomenal, because we're able to have controls that we haven't been able to have before to operate our system. So some of our new cost saving measures. I mean, I hand it to Golf that they are performing all janitorial services for their facilities just in-house. Just the employees are going and clean and do the bathrooms. We have done the design of 28th Street in-house by the new Marshall White Center. So you'll see that road's torn up right now, but that was all done. Again, the RH Borden project, that's because there have not been any sewer main backups. That's cost savings. I don't know exactly how much that will be, but that's the project I talked to, that rapid assessment tool that was able to get ahead of anything that might be potentially clogging. We have our group over at Grandview Acres hauled in the ready block and set some things there. Our group also has been hauling some of the dirt away at the mountain over by Marshall White from where they've dug the footings. And then also we've had crews from our water department and our engineering department help with doing some maintenance issues at Lauren Farr Pool that all adds up. The Marv Castile infill turf, having that done, again, it just saves time from teams having to go and prep infields. So that's definitely been a savings there. And our electrical tradesmen are phenomenal. They are up at our water treatment plant, but they get called all over the city to come help with issues. I know they've been at Union Station. I know they help wire and do other things all over the city. So they keep track of their time and their efforts of what they would have to pay contractors. Again, our water utility has done a great job on our strategic energy plan, basically looking at how we are operating, making sure that, again, monitoring our system so that we are pumping at off-peak hours to make sure our water tanks are filled. That all helps save money, how we run our water treatment plant and utilizing the power that's needed to do generation of our water there. Changing how we operate, when we operate, has big savings. And some of that's not possible without things like the fiber connectivity to the well field. They've also been out doing backflow assemblies at our parks. Our water laboratory saved us $15,000 last year. And then our water crews also worked on an interconnect for redundancy with North Ogden City to make sure if there were any issues from either city that we'd be able to feed each other water. And so that added up to about $30,000. Our biggest immediate challenges, and we are, in fact, you'll see a box right there because when I initially put this picture in, I didn't realize it was actually an inappropriate picture that had been drawn in there. So instead of changing it out, I just threw the box on there. But it kind of, seeing this happen every day, it kind of conditions you not to see it. And so our crews they are constantly dealing with this. So graffiti, homeless related issues and vandalism in our parks is our number one issue. And you're going to see some more pictures of what our crews have to deal with. The other issue is employee recruitment, hiring and retention. I think you heard Lisa talk about how much money from our part-time budget is going towards other things because we're not able to fill those positions. And that has to do with advancement opportunities, pay, and just burnout of having to do this work. We've also have some CDL training challenges that we're having to overcome. Some of the rules that the state's changed. That's been some things we're having to work around. Quality coaches is another thing that we are working through, and not only coaches, but officials is another issue. People aren't wanting to do that. We also have contractors not pulling permits and activating permits is an issue. And then we also have boring contractors throughout the city that are causing a lot of damage. And so some of it we happen to find out instantly when they hit. Some of it we find out it might be a month or two or even a couple of years. We found one where a boring contractor had actually gone through a sewer line and bored right through it. And I think researching it happened like 3 years ago. So it just hadn't caused a clog yet. So, but here's the challenges that we face. These are some camps that we need to clean up. And so we are, and some of the things that we're doing is contracting to outside vendors to assist us. But even if we hire an outside vendor, we still have to have representation from the city to account that things are getting cleaned up, count for hours, other things like that.
Installing bookcases, is that what that is?
You wouldn't be very surprised of what they what we find.
It's not the books though.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a war.
Yeah. Just graffiti is another challenge that we face every day. We have somebody on it full time and it's hard to keep up. So we really you talked to Chief Young tonight, so we really appreciate our police their efforts to help curb this as well. Again, here's another picture, and it just very perturbing to see some of our nice things like our horses that we put out through the summer and our pioneer days to be damaged as well. So, and again, I'm trying to save you from the worst pictures.
Are you able to repair those portions?
We try. We try. So I think with those ones that we were able to actually repair, but it comes at a cost, time. And so it's just, and our employees feel like this is just time wasted on having to do things constantly. And so it is a morale issue for our employees. Again, we also have blue staking issues, making sure that we can get to all the calls every day for blue staking there on a time to get those done. We're working on the lead service inventory that the state's requiring us to do. Fleet is our fleet. We have they do a great job of servicing our fleet, but when we have so much equipment, sometimes when certain pieces of equipment go down, it really hurts us being able to get on and do the necessary work. So we work on that. And also, as you heard Lisa talk about, is just making sure
we're right sizing our fleet. We're still working towards that as well, having all the equipment. Mount Ogden, we fixed El Monte on the irrigation system, but Mount Ogden is twice the size of El Monte. So we're starting to work towards that. Some other things is just things not having a diesel fuel vault at El Monte hurts because we have to have somebody truck it up there every time. Our cemetery inventory, and you'll see that a few times. That's just there's not a lot left. So, and then you heard Chief Young talk about our special event resources. We in public services, we love our special events. They take a lot of time and resources to make happen. It just doesn't magically happen. It happens because we make it happen. Also, one of our challenges too is, and I don't think it's realized just how many employees we staff in public services. So we have 175 full-time positions in public services, and you can see the breakdown right there. But then we also have our part-time seasonal make up a ton of employees, and we are just not able to hire enough of them. And you see the vacancies over there. Those vacancies are equivalent to full-time equivalents, meaning we need 11 full-time equivalents or 11 people working 40 hours a week. So that those 11 vacancies could be made up of 20 or 30 people working part-time as well. So managing these challenges, we have, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but the bottom end of our employees that we hire are not up to market rates. So we have about 25% of public services that are not at market rate. So it's hard to keep people employed when they're not there. We've tried to raise wages on part-time and seasonal. We've attended job fairs. We've asked for referrals. We've done, it's called wedge interviews using that software, and also tried doing additional of a citywide referral benefit. We continue open communication with our police department, and we brought in ServPro to assist with these cleanups. We continue to have a graffiti report benefit. So if people, whether they're public or city people, they're out about doing their jobs, if they see graffiti, call it in, and then every month, whoever called in the most graffiti and notified us, we give them like a prize or gift card.
Justin, with graffiti, is that covered on private property as well, like a private homeowner's fence or something? Or
so there used to be a graffiti task force that would do the private side, and we would just deal with public property, but that hasn't been going for a while. So we don't not only do ours, but if we allowed, we will go do others' fences if it's visible to public property.
I was asked, but I didn't know what the current situation was.
We do try to get to them as time permits, but there's also there's some paperwork and stuff involved to limit liability for us to be able to do that. And then we also want to utilize camera footage to assist in catching and prosecuting people vandalizing. So we're working with IT to continue coming up with new ways to tweak and improve our security systems. Now the biggest long-term challenges is really our aging facilities and infrastructure. We are working towards getting on top of that. We've made significant strides, but that is always going to be something out there is managing aging infrastructure. And Ogden's one of the older cities in northern Utah, and as these other cities are catching up with aging infrastructure, they are going to be experiencing a lot of problems that we are going through right now. Again, employee recruitment and retention, special event support, protecting city assets from vandalism and weather as well, lack of officials and coaching, optimizing the remote-based meter reading, and then also we need to continue. We've had a couple good water years, but we still need to work on our drought and water conservation and make sure we're being efficient with the water that we have. And then again, our cemetery is just running out of space. Strategies to combat that, as you can see, one of the things, and this is a CIP project as well, is looking to do what's called a columbaria. So we want to look to use the perpetual care to fund upfront cost of that, of construction, and then replenish through sales. They are getting very popular. We want to continue to use third parties contracts to address homeless related issues and vandalism. Our employees in public services have stated this as well, and so I'm sharing that, is that they would like to have some step raises or something in place that will help advancement within each crew's structure. So they don't want to get caught of taking a long time to be able to advance. They want some structure in place for them that they know that's going to be in there. And then also just increasing staffing levels through full-time conversion, meaning that we're having a hard time filling our part-time. And so we're going to have to start converting through full-time. And that's one of the things coming up here. We're going to talk about parks. And it's coming up right now. So we're going into specific budget issues. And so new funding requests. So we have 4 parks area maintenance funding requests. This is actually the initial request from our parks department in Monty was 8. And so we pared this down to 4. One, we have a water maintenance tech or a blue staker. We have an engineering project manager, an engineering permit processor, aquatics supervisor and recreation, and a grant writer. So we're going to cover these a little more in detail. Right now, parks would like 24 full-time equivalents in parks, meaning that one full-time equivalent is 40 hours. Currently, we are at 13 full-time equivalents. So doing that, we basically are short 440 hours each week of being able to meet the workload demand. And it's just, we can't do that. And that's on top of the dealing with the vandalism and the other issues that we have. And so just the seasonal model, it is dying. And so we've got to somehow figure out how to retool that differently. The blue stake positions, again, they blue stake not only like water, sanitary, storm, traffic signals, and street lights, and power and fiber, but typically they're dealing with like a boring contractor. They'll call in a blue stake 1,500 feet a day just on that one blue stake ticket. So that's a little more than about 2 blocks. And right now we have like 10 boring contractors with permits in the city. So typically keeping a blue staker just constantly busy the entire day, 25 to 30 tickets is hard to get done. We're dealing with we kept track in the 32-hour period last week. We had 131 tickets come in. And if we split that 3 ways, they're supposed to be doing 43 tickets each. And that's just impossible. So we're not marking things properly. And when things aren't marked properly, we end up holding the cost if things get hit. So engineering division, and asking for the construction manager position. We are currently overseeing the Marshall White Center, the Wonder Block, and the Canyon Water Line is going to be coming on. Those are 3 huge projects. And I mean, you look at the Marshall White, which is a big project in itself, and that's like $30 million. And that's the least of those amounts. So we just need to make sure that we have people properly trained. It's hard to just even bring somebody else out from the outside and just plug them in and expect them to know all the city processes, be able to know who they need to coordinate with. to make sure that they're meeting all the purchasing requirements and following everything that needs to happen. And also make sure maybe the consultants or the architects or whoever else we have working on the project is billing us properly, checking those as well to make sure that things are done correctly. The permit processor, that is a position. It'll be budget neutral, but again, we talked about just all the boring contractors, all the permits being pulled. Not only are we having to go out and mark those in the field, but we are having to issue and oversee all those permits as well. Recreation with the aquatic supervisor, Marshall White, is anticipated to come on the spring of next year. So that'll be a facility with aquatics programming year round. And so this position will oversee all the hiring, training, all the programming for Marshall White and also Lauren Farpool. And then the administrative grant writer, this will assist not only public services, but other departments in the city. We anticipate that this position will more than pay for itself just in grants that we are not able to get to because we are in the middle of doing other things. So there's a lot left out on the table grant wise that we would like to go after. Specific budget issues on line item increases. The biggest one is really our B-bill fleet charges for the department. We have a large fleet in public services, and so those increases are going to amount to about $260,000 a year. But also we are seeing some increases from Central Weber. The quarterly service fees are going to jump up about almost $20,000 a quarter, so that's about $80,000 a year. There's also an annual pre-treatment fee that's jumping actually pretty significantly as well. That's about $100,000, a little over $100,000 a year. Another thing that won't necessarily impact the city directly, but will impact development and other things happening in the city is just the impact fees are also going to increase from Central Weber. Significant changes that have budget impacts. So just the contracting for maintenance cleanup, just the vandalism and the issues that we're seeing right now. We're having to contract to get on top of those. And then we're also looking at reviewing options for recycling as well. We haul to Davis County for our recycling program. We want to look and see the impact that's having on our vehicles and our equipment, and if there's a way of taking that into account that maybe we can haul closer to reduce overall costs. So not knowing that that's going to change or not, but we are going to look into that. I'm going to turn the CIPs over to Taylor here real quick.
So we'll talk about a couple of items coming up that are always exciting whenever we can get into some new construction. Marshall White, of course, coming online. And we're looking at some new lighting and new fencing around the outside of it. So not only will we have a new facility, we're looking at all the new landscaping, a whole bunch of other fun options to try and start programming in some of that space as well. The other thing we're trying to look at in the front corner, which I appreciate Ed and his foresight in looking through a lot of these things, is seeing what else we can program. He's talking about putting some pickleball courts in and just trying to really maximize that space. And so I think because of a lot of his experience, we're able to really take some of this space that we have and get the most out of it. A couple areas also that we're looking at is 4 new pickleball courts up at Leicester, kind of right out there behind Golden Hours, which will be awesome. And then do some more improvements to Leicester Park in some of that area. I know there's been a lot of people from the public that have been asking about that area and some different things we can do. And so we're trying to figure out what are some ways that we can take and improve that park. We are getting started on the Mount Ogden irrigation, which Justin talked about earlier. We fully anticipate to see some savings and other projects will be able to improve upon the golf course, but we always have to start with trying to not always go and repair sprinklers every couple days. And so it's nice to have some of those options going forward. As some of you may have heard, we've been having some problems out at the Lauren Farr pool. And so what we're trying to do is fund items going forward for maintenance, whether that be for, some of the adjoining facilities or whether that be for the pool itself. We took on pretty significant improvements this last year with some of the under drain system, some concrete replacements, and some other things in order to try and make some of these things last. And we're trying to hope for as long as we can. We need to start making some significant investments into these. Of such, we're looking into, are we going to have to do a pool liner this year, going back in after the season's over? So there's just different options we're trying to evaluate and how we can get the most out of some of these resources. Justin's mentioned this a couple of times. We have the canyon water lines coming in. It's an exciting project. So we have selected a contractor, Whitaker Construction. We've had a couple of preliminary meetings with them, and we are getting our pre-construction services underway, trying to figure out how to get them out there, start potholing, pulling some preliminary information, and then working with our engineer, including staff, to try and figure out how we tackle this large water line that's going down the canyon. The fun part is we got some tight corridors, and not a lot of people are excited to have us up there. So I'll let you know how it goes. And it'll probably be winter. We most likely will, but that's all right. That's what makes it exciting, is what they told me. The other one we're doing right now is, some of you have seen 2nd Street is currently we're installing a new water line that's going in. This will help offset some of the current flow constraints that we have out in the BDO. The great news is the BDO has always been a great beacon for bringing in new businesses. We were starting to have some fire flow issues. So instead of limiting development, we were able to get this project. We had a developer help contribute to this project to make sure that we are able to get this in. And then we went and found the rest of the funding to ensure we don't have additional problems going forward.
Can I ask a question about that one?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Last year's WACOG Transportation Subcommittee was reviewing a project. It isn't this project, obviously.
No. So there is a 2nd Street roadway project that needs to happen. That water line, we could have done the water line, but I think we're getting that funding at somewhere between 3 and 4 years out before we would get that.
Okay.
It is the same area, but
Right.
because of the development and how it was coming, this water line had to precede it. So what we've tried to do is narrow up as many items as possible to get us through to that construction project. And so the other thing it's allowed us to do is now we've been able to have conversations with like Western Irrigation and some of these other companies. Rocky Mountain Power is coming in with some of their transmission lines. And we're having a lot of those conversations now in preparation for that project to come in the future. But it is the same area. We had to take the water line
It's
first.
exactly the same area, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
That's what I kept seeing in this building. And I think that couldn't be this.
It's that is that.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
The other one, I don't know if you guys have heard many complaints about 20th Street. I know there's been quite a few. That is underway. We are looking to go even further up to the intersection at 20th as it turns and starts going down Valley Drive. There are slight issues and other items that we're evaluating as part of that, but that's projects that we're currently looking at. We're trying to have wrapped up by this time next year. So 20th Street, we are excited to have the fall here so that can be all done. That's what we're really looking forward to. Some other ones that we have is we have our D Avenue construction, which will include some of our water line, transmission lines, and everything else that will connect and move its way through. We're just waiting for Union Pacific approval. It's always an exciting process whenever you deal with the railroad. It's twists and turns, and you never know what's going to happen next.
We do have approval to actually get the crossing. Now we're getting approval to make sure that we can go under with our utilities. So
I learned something new. Just because you have a crossing doesn't mean that all your utilities are approved. You have to have a separate permit for all of your utilities. So it's not a road utilities, it's road, water, sewer, storm drain, other water, potential sewer crossing. I think we were at 8 permits by the time we were done. So it was really exciting.
and they don't do them all at the same time.
We have to do them one after the other. This is I'm just going to put this list up on the screen real quick. what we've tried to do, and Councilmember Heyer kind of alluded to it with Second Street, we've tried to be proactive on our utility projects and put it back a roadway surface after we're finished that can have some longevity. Some of the biggest complaints I know in the past that we were getting from the public is we would cut up a road and those patches wouldn't work as well as we were always hoping. So what we've tried to do is collaborate the utilities together, come and give it a good road surface after we're done, and buy us some time after we're all finished. And so that's been through some mapping and some other stuff that we've been able to do and try and really align some of those projects. Yeah.
Just real quick, I saw $200,000 for green bike maintenance and we haven't had an update recently, so maybe you
Yeah.
can give us an update.
So we're actually, we've got some additional funding that's been in the queue with Wasatch Front through the CMAQ appropriations. And so we're gonna actually be adding to our green bike system. I wanna say 5 new stations. We'll be expanding. I don't know them all right off the top of my head. I know Marshall White is one location that it'll be at as well. And so that 200,000 is kind of what we are working on subsidizing with them till we can actually grow the system to be able to fund itself.
And maybe after budget, we can get ridership numbers and, after through the summer, those kind
Yeah.
of things would be great.
In fact, yeah, we can pull all that. And also, one of the things too, the Green Bike does with employees, and you might have seen the email come out through HR, is that everybody, all city employees can get a free membership and to utilize Green Bike. And again, that's not only our system, but that's if you get on Front Runner right down to Salt Lake, that's the entire system of Green Bike. So.
The next project we're really excited about, you guys will probably hear, is the Gramercy Bridge. Actually, UDOT will be coming in and replacing this bridge. So this will not be a cost to the city, but it will be a boon to our infrastructure. And so to be able to have this bridge replaced, it was dilapidated and it was going to start experiencing more and more issues. So in coordination with UDOT, they were able to, they had funding available. We did some great discussions with them and they are able to come in and start doing that. So that'll actually start this year. So you guys will see that. We're trying to have it not impact the rodeo, but inevitably it's going to.
Well, yeah, it's actually going to start after the rodeo this year, but we've obtained funding, again, going after funding packages through the state. And so they've allocated about $3.5 million to replace this. So we are going to work with them to keep that under that, because anything over that, the city will be on the hook for those costs.
And the next one doesn't have any funding that we've assigned with it, but it's something that we've been talking about. It's the 24th Street interchange. It's something we're in conjunction with our economic development group. It's a very important project to us because of the potential that we can have out in this area. So we're really excited to continue partnering with UDOT and their design groups that they have working on stuff. And we've been having meetings probably weekly, if not multiple meetings a week, trying to move forward with some utility coordinations, acquisition, amongst other items. So there's a lot of great things that are happening out in this area right now. That is the proposed configuration as we currently have it. Yes.
So
If you want me to point, I can vent away for a minute. This right here, I'll speak loudly. This right here will be the new, currently the off ramps are here and here. This will be the new interchange.
That's a spooky, huh?
Yep. So right here, it'll take us off and in, and actually this will be elevated. So this will have to then ramp down into 25th Street, and this will have to ramp down all the way in. So you can see we actually don't land on Pennsylvania. We land all the way back here, and then that would go to Pennsylvania. So there's some acquisitions and other items that are going to be happening. And so the reason we're showing you this now is because they've had their open house and have released this to everyone. So the businesses should be aware. I know David in the back of the room here, I know you've been involved in some of those meetings with some of the businesses. So we appreciate your involvement, trying to make sure the businesses stay in Ogden, because that's very important to us. And so
there's road here, both elevated, and then this bridge will stay. And this road will come back in, so your access back into 2550 will still kind of be like it is now. But this will be cul-de-sac here on the other side of Pennsylvania. So your access kind of in and out of the industrial park will now most likely come here. And what I don't show is the remainder of Midland Drive, where Midland Drive will kind of meander its way down here and hit 1900 West. So there's a lot of great improvements that'll be happening. What we're looking at doing is seeing if there's anything else we can do to improve some of these roads and to make sure that we improve our utilities as part of that project. So a lot of stuff will be happening here, which will be just south of the current interchange. Any questions on top of that?
Blue line, is that a water line?
This blue line is a proposed trail pathway that we would put in to try and connect some of these other items that are happening at the airport and hopefully eventually get us back here, because if we continue our trail this way, we can tie into the river right over here by Mark Castile and Surge and all that. So we're excited to have a trail connection that was otherwise through what was an impediment. It was the interchange. Yep.
And this doesn't show any utility work of any kind. It's just kind of the alignment of roadways and the shared use path. Well, it's got to go through the EA process. So.
We feel as though because they've released it and started acquiring property, I believe that's where we're gonna end up. There might be minor adjustments, but they've kind of outlined where they're going. They've started talking to the properties. I feel like that's where we're at, and that's why we've all been able to start releasing what it looks like.
Yeah, in fact, when I first started with the city over 15 years ago, I started working on the 24th Street interchange, and I actually came into it after it had already been going on for probably 8 years to 10 years. So, so specific budget issues with major equipment purchases. Now, we're not actually proposing to purchase a new track hoe this year, but that's in meeting with my department and the staff, that this is a piece of equipment that multiple divisions have said that they wish the city had. And so this is, you can see kind of the model, the state contract price of that equipment. So this is something that our division feels, or our department feels, that would be important to have going forward in the future. So we, as part of the right sizing the fleet, this is something we're going to try to figure out how to do. But you can see this is one of the older pictures of a new front end loader from 1964. You can see, you probably should be able to recognize some buildings right there. So behind that, so it's just a neat picture. Specific budget issues for IT. Again, we're looking to continue to upgrade monitoring systems at Golden Hours, add cameras at Lauren Farr and Miles Goodyear Park. We've had to update our backflow inventory software. So we're replacing our old software with our new BMP software. And then we also have some our SCADA upgrades, which is going to cost us $57,000. I don't know if there's any questions on what SCADA does. It's kind of, it allows us to have control over certain facilities or functionality of our facilities, not having to be actually there and manually control them. So this slide has to do with our impacts of the updated salary study. I've briefly, probably for an hour and a half, got to meet with HR and go over some of the McGrath study for the Public Services Department. And there are a couple items that I want to that are concerning. I want to make sure that happen. One of those items is that we have a significant amount of our employees in public services that are going to be below the threshold of new wages. So they're going to have to be moved up to meet the minimum. then that causes some of the other concern that I have is what does that do as far as compression with employees that we've had with longevity at the city. So we've got to go through and do that. So I've just had a little glimpse of that, looking at that, but getting those salaries up because we are having a hard time filling them and getting people to work for those wages on the things that we're asking them to do, but also making sure that we keep our employees that have been with us and we don't cause any issues that way. So those are some things we got to work out. Then we've also looking to move our volunteer coordinator. Right now, that had just been reporting to the public services director. About 90% of the workload that Stacy does is really dealing with our parks department and working on, my hometown and other volunteer coordination efforts. And so it just made sense that we're going to actually move that position under our parks to work with. Grant funding. Again, we're always looking for grants. And again, I don't think we are maximizing the grants that are out there for our department because we just run out of time, but we do, here's some of our ramp grant applications that we're doing. Again, we put in for some new pickleball courts. Initially we put in for 8, but I think it's more realistic to get funded for 4. Also looking for some ramp grants on some playgrounds. We're also looking through the lead and copper work that we're doing right now to try to get some grants for $100,000 through the Division of Drinking Water. Non-point source 319 funding for Surge and Ogden Business Exchange down there on the Weber River. This is actually something that I'm really excited to report because we just heard about this, is that we put in a grant on the Weber River for a new wave feature. There's 3 of them in the Western United States that you can actually, it's a system that you can control that uses the bladder system that can create a wave. So depending on the flow, you can adjust it to keep like a surfing wave. And so outdoor recreation through the state is looking to fund us for $750,000 for that feature. So that's really exciting. And then we also are always looking for additional funding along the Weber River and also for some flood control. Just other important items. I think these are important that I don't think as public services it's well known that we actually put these on, but these are all different activities that we put on. You look at like the Marshall White Center, the Thanksgiving, the Christmas, the Cinco de Mayo celebrations are all put on through public services. The Utah High School All-Star baseball and softball games. We have, again, multiple recreation tournaments. We put on recognize Mexico's Independence Day. We do a health fair at Golden Hours. Also put on a golf tournament for Golden Hours. And we also look to do Partners in Success golf tournament. So we do a lot of events. And also one I probably should have listed on here and didn't think of was the IF4. We put on the IF4 Film Festival through the city as well. So yeah, so we like that. So specific budget issues with our goals and how do they fit into the strategic plan. Again, the irrigation system at Mount Ogden, just image and reputation. Our Parks Department's looking to install the fence and fix the fence there at Mount Ogden, but by the golf course and up around that is just a kind of a community safety and again, image and reputation issue. Completing the Marshall N. White Community Center, that's a recreation and also a community asset. Hire new Marshall White Center staff. We're really looking forward to that facility being done and the things that we can offer to the community. So again, that goes along with our community safety, recreation, city image and reputation. We're also prioritizing the community outreach and promoting to raise awareness of the Recreation Division's offerings through developing a marketing strategy. helping to bring in tournaments and things of that matter to the city. We have a goal. We want 0 preventable accidents. So that's something we're going to be working on really hard, is making sure that we lower any preventable accidents. Developing a training program for coaches. We want to increase efficiency and accuracy of our blue staking. We want to optimize all of our wells and make sure that we not only having them operate, because it's a safety issue if they're not operating, but we want to increase their efficiencies, continue to do that, as we've done a good job. We also have been working really hard with our fire hydrant inspection program, promoting water conservation and planning for the future. We also want to stabilize our workforce, and we want to optimize the AMI fixed meter base reading system, which we are at 82% on that. So right now we have about 18% of the system that we need to just upgrade from the I want to say the level 3s to the level 4 meters. So specific budget issues from spending excess funding from our budget. We want to actually fix the fencing between the driving range, El Monte and hole number 1 before somebody gets tagged. That's the trees are dying. It just looks bad too, but that needs to be redone. We're looking to do some upgrades at hole number 5 at El Monte for some also safety along Park Boulevard. We're also trying to keep the golf course efficiently working, wanting to add some additional equipment. They have to move equipment back and forth to the golf courses. It just doesn't maximize the use of time. We'd rather have people mowing instead of transporting equipment. And then we also, with recreation funds, any additional funds we want to use for uniforms and equipment purchases for facilities and also for the safety. Sidewalk repairs, we've done a lot of them. Here's kind of the map of the coming year of what we're doing spread throughout the city. We try to maximize the dollars that we have to actually fix locations instead of paying for mobilizations back and forth. So we try to group throughout the city certain areas so that we can maximize those dollars. And so here's some of the dots of areas that we'll be replacing. And a lot of this is remove and replace, but we also then continue to have saw cutting where they come in and grind that. But what I've noticed this year is the cutting price has gone way up. And so unless it is just a very small cut, it's probably more efficient to actually just replace the concrete. Here's just some before and afters and the locations of some work being done. So yeah, it makes a big difference of getting some things fixed. Well, yeah. One of the things too with the 50/50 program, it's just getting harder to use, and so we want to actually look at that and maybe make some changes to that program. From a risk management standpoint, we need people who are licensed contractors doing work in our right of way to pull the permits. That being said, the costs to mobilize have just gone way up. So unless they're doing their driveway or doing something else, it becomes just ineffective to have them show up to do a small amount of concrete. So this is one of the things we want to work on this next year is look to maybe make some changes to this and come up with an appropriate amount that's right for the citizens to utilize the program. Another sidewalk project too is just around Hillcrest Elementary. So just kind of highlighting the work that we've done around there. So making sure that school kids have sidewalk to be able to walk to and from school. Again, fee changes. Golf will look to do a mid-year fee increase. That's the time they do that. But we are looking at changing a fee to where we can do an extra recycling can fee. Right now, the way the fee structure is set up, the recycling can and the garbage can go together. So we are gonna come back with a cost of what the right amount should be to just add an extra recycling can, because we've had some of those requests. And with that, I just would like to thank the city council for the support that you give public services. I know we do a lot of work, but we couldn't do that without your support as well. So thank you. And is there any questions?
Mayor Caldwell committed to putting some additional signage down at Fort Buenaventura, and I just wondered if that ever happened.
No, it hasn't happened yet. Daniel Gillies is actually working on that to make sure that that can move forward. Are you talking about with the wayfinding and kind of looking to do a monument? I know we've been working with planning and with Barton. That hasn't happened yet, but it hasn't fallen off the radar.
Holy cow. What a long list of responsibilities you have, and your area, it's mind blowing, actually. On the vandalism, this really bothers me. Are we seeing this in certain parks? You seem to kind of highlight a few.
Yeah, so it is happening citywide. However, it's happening more frequently at certain parks. Leicester Park has been a hard park.
Yeah, I saw the
And
camera
it's, we've
there.
had to close it due to just the vandalism and what's happened there. That leaves it unsanitary and other issues going on there. But we've had, you've seen graffiti at the High Adventure Park. Jefferson Park at times becomes really difficult, but we are having Bonneville Park, like this, it's happening all over randomly. So it's not just one facet of the community, but it's happening all over.
Do the cameras help, or do we need a camera to activate a net that drops on them?
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is even with the cameras, they just destroy them.
Oh,
So, I mean, you can get video for some, but the wiring gets pulled out, the cameras get hit, they can get to them with the hammer or some other things that, I mean, they're bashing windows, they're breaking doors. And it's just a big morale. It's just like it's
kill it.
upsetting to me that,
Yeah.
and we have an expectation in our community, because we love our community, that there is a respect there, and to see these things not be respected, it's causes a morale issue, especially day after day. And some of the issues that our employees are having to see, it really desensitizes them. And talking to some of our employees and hearing what things that they're dealing with and seeing, that it almost makes me want to fall out of my chair. And they're like, oh, but that's not even the bad part. Yeah. It just blows my mind.
Is this more prevalent this year than previous years?
It seems like it has exploded this year. We've had problems in the past for sure, but it just is at some places it's not just daily, it's almost hourly. Like they fix stuff, got stuff repaired in the morning, gone back at night to check it, and to already see things damaged.
Is it suspected that this is a defined group? Is this a cohort of people that are taking this on as a mission, or is this just people who feel like vandalizing?
I don't know if I know the answer to that question. So that's why we want to work with the police. And we're hoping that, I really appreciate our Ogden Police Department and the things that they've done to put rewards out to try to curb and stop this from happening. But yeah, there's a group of population that, and in dealing with our unsheltered population, there is some issues that happens just on use, but also with somehow how they're treating the facilities. And it's not all of them, but some of them. But then we also have some of the population that definitely their circumstances are different, and why they are treating things this way, it doesn't make sense to me.
So as we consider pickleball courts at Leicester Park, is a busier park a cleaner, more inviting park for the general public?
I think so. And so the
So pick-
pickleball courts, we want to actually use and put them over by the golden hours. So that those attending golden hours have access to those and to probably even have them just set aside time that it's only for golden hours use, but then open them up to the public. But I do think that the more people we can get there, but we also need to make sure that when we are inviting the public to these parks, that when they go to use the facilities, they can do so safely and that they don't have to worry about what they may be walking into or their, or kids might be walking into. So, but the more people we have there, the more people with cell phones, the more if they see an issue that they can call in.
Okay. And then around golf. In my previous life, I had a friend that was a golf pro.
Mhm.
And he competed to earn the contract for the city to run their golf course. And it was all about putting a proposal together to make the city money and pay himself and his staff. Is Ogden using a similar model, or is Ogden's Golf Pro an employee?
Ogden's Golf Pro is an employee. And from what I understand in years past, they did contract that out and it didn't go well. And so that all got brought in-house. And though we have gone a long time of having to subsidize golf with general fund money, we are now not at that point. And so the improvements that we're putting in with our irrigation system and helps to where that, because we don't have the same staff as other golf courses. If you look at Davis County that are public golf courses that are owned by local governments, we're staffed lower than they are. However, with those improvements with the irrigation system, it allows them time to go do other things to help maintain. And so we might be helping to fund those improvements, but with that, there's noticeable changes at El Monte golf course. And so as we do that too with Mount Ogden, you'll see noticeable changes. And I'm really proud of Todd Brinkman, who's our golf pro, and the work that he's done to get us out of the red and into the black.
Good. Thank you very much, Justin.
I can give him a little attaboy too. I mean, after he was hired, we got the pavilion at Mount Ogden where they're starting to be able to rent that space for other events that's really helped the golf fund. The deck on at El Monte now, that's going to sell a lot more hamburgers. I mean, there's just some things that create some synergy, and Todd's thinking that way, and he's really doing a good job for the city. When you were talking about putting it out for bid, well, he'd probably win because he thinks that way. So it's going well, I think.
Mentioned something that I had no idea existed earlier in your presentation about some kind of an endowment care fund at the cemetery that would help to pay for the columbarium that you're planning on installing. I did not know that there was an endowment care fund at the cemetery. I just thought I was funded, but I always thought their expenses were funded through the cemetery district tax. So is that, I guess I'm just curious about that endowment care fund.
Yeah, and I'd probably have to go look up some more information on that, or I don't know if maybe Lisa might know off the top of her head. She's shaking her head, yeah. So it might be a better question for Lisa to answer. But yeah, there is an endowment fund there in the cemetery.
And then secondly, you may want to do some kind of a revision of the costs for property and grave opening and things like that at the cemetery, because they're probably among the lowest in Weber County. They're not the lowest, but they're
among the lowest.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ordinance didn't allow for us to do a columbarium, so I think that's the BDO revenue.
Okay.
We have to do the ordinance, which I don't think is inappropriate, but to do that. It's funded through a portion of the property sales, 40% goes to that perpetual care fund. So as we run out of property, less will go in, but it's got over $1 million in it now.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, thank you, Justin and Taylor. Appreciate it. Any council business or comments? Anything, Janine, that we,
We should note of when that is.
oh, yeah. You want to talk about the military training, just to notice, or, yeah,
Sure.
not that, Mike.
I know, right? Yeah, if you look up at the sky, tomorrow afternoon. So it's gonna be on the 29th and the 30th. So that's Wednesday and Thursday. And then it's also gonna be on Monday and Tuesdays, June 3rd and June 4th. There's a military training event taking place at Big D Sports Park and Mount Ogden Park. It'll be in the afternoon. It's a military jump training that they do for like urban environments. And it's all gonna be during daylight, and no park users should be affected by it.
Thank you. Mara, you've got some. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to that we will have signs posted at the parks that say notice, drop zone, military parachute exercise happening in the area, so that there'll be notice to the public. And yeah, that's accurate about the jumps and everything. And they will, they'll have tactical gear on, but they will not be carrying any firearms. And there will be a jump team on the ground, to make sure that everything goes well. So, and if there's yeah, well, they call it, yeah. And I'll let Janine know tomorrow. It's kind of a fluid situation right now. I'll let Janine know if there's any adjustments, and she can pass that on to you, but we'll definitely be providing notice. So.
How is the general public being notified that this is gonna happen? Newspaper, Facebook, anything like that?
Yeah, I'll check on what kind of, other sort of social media or public noticing. I think we had, I'll double check on that. I think there would be some social media communication going on.
Do I recall correctly, several years ago, there was an evening exercise over
Yeah.
at the
Right.
drugstore up on Capitol Square, and it was caught the neighborhood by surprise and
Yeah,
didn't go well.
right. That's true.
Remember right, they did things they did not tell us they were gonna do.
That's true too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully this is a different kind of training exercise, but we are working really closely with the events team. Our police department is involved, and just making sure that all communications are accurate to the best that we can. And but we'll look to, I'll follow up on the social media just to make sure the public knows. So you're welcome.
Expect a healthy dose of Red Dawn references on social media tomorrow, so. Any other council business? If not, accept a motion, or do we need a motion? We don't need a motion in this one. We are adjourned.